Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Sky coming on to talk to you about the year ahead of 2023 from an intuitive and astrological standpoint. I hope you're all doing really well. I'm looking so forward to filming this video and getting through it. We're going to be going on a bit of a journey here, talking quite extensively about the momentum that we're working with coming out of the year of 2022 and moving more directly into 2023 and beyond. So yes, let's dive deeply into that in this video. If you're new, be sure to hit the subscribe button below if you enjoy it, and check out the description box for any relevant links that are below. So anyway, everyone, let's talk about some of the incredible energies coming in right now. There should be convenient video chapters below where you can kind of navigate through and see different chapters of the video. I'm going to be talking a little bit about coming out of 2022 and go through the entire year of 2023. And I'm also going to talk about the year ahead for each zodiac sign. So that will all be laid out below as well. Okay, so let's get into it. First of all, I just feel very hopeful, and I've been looking more forward. I'm just taking my jacket off here. I've been looking more forward to filming for 2023, I think, than a lot of the year ahead videos. I've been doing these since, I believe, 2018, and really, like no other year, I've just been looking forward to it because I feel a lot of hope, and I feel a lot of, I don't know, just ability to really work more directly with the energy. It's not such a passive energy. It's not such a also reliant on other people energy coming in. I really feel that individuals really have a nice opportunity to do what they want with themselves here, and to also initiate or start plans or start directions or step onto paths that they really feel is right for them. There's some kind of portal coming in here near the end of 2022 that stretches all throughout 2023, especially up until like halfway, honestly until about September of 2023. There's this really nice, I guess I would call it a portal type of energy, but it's more like an alchemy, or it's more like a generated opportunity based on a lot of friction and based on a lot of conflict. This generated opportunity allows people to really just reach for what they want, or have the reality that they have been maybe working really hard for such a long time for. So for that reason, I find this to be a very hopeful year ahead. And I find, despite anything that we talk about in this video, guys, because yeah, there's going to be some hard stuff coming up, because of how hopeful it is, because of how opportune it is, there can, of course, be a sense of pressure, or there can be a sense of time ticking, or there can be a sense of like, oh my gosh, I can't lose this opportunity, or I can't like miss out on this. And that would be one of the main issues that I would definitely see like right in front of this year. But we have to, I think, maybe change our mind on that and see like, okay, this pressure that I'm feeling, or this sense of like time running out, or anything like that can be very existential, does mean that I have something right now, or it means that there is opportunity, or it means that there is something really nice coming in. So that's how I'll just kind of preface the video, and we'll kind of go into this from a few different perspectives. But before I start talking too much about just 2023, I want to talk a little bit about finishing 2022 and what momentum we are kind of moving into this year ahead with. So retrospectively on the year of 2022, that was not a very, oh gosh, I'm trying to think of words to even describe it. As I'm coming out of it, as I'm here towards the end of December 2022, I am very impressed at the fortitude that people had, at the endurance people had. I'm also very impressed at how people couldn't give up on themselves, or how they were willing to go to bat for themselves and like reclaim who they were. That was really, I think, the magic of 2022. It was a very magical year, I will say that. It was also a type of year that really generates results for a long period of time. So depending on what you did in 2022, if you had a hard time, or if you had like a lot of wear and tear, or a lot of strain, or a lot of like chaos, okay, I think if you're struggling to cope from that, it would be important maybe for some people to pursue some type of therapy, yes, but then really for a lot of people to just understand it was hard, but it's also given me some type of lifelong knowledge. Very possible coming out of 2022 to have some type of lifelong knowledge, to have some type of also lifelong generation of energy. So an investment that gives you returns over a lifetime, or some type of legacy accomplishment that will basically always be there for you. I think that everybody, to some extent, has something like that from the work they've done, especially over the last 2 years, so 2020 to 2022. However, I also felt that it was a kind of conflicted legacy building, or a kind of conflicted working with those types of alchemical energies. So we had these Saturn-Uranus squares working with us for pretty much the entire year. We had the North Node in Taurus and the South Node in Scorpio. We had multiple eclipses on that axis in October and November. Scorpio eclipses alongside T-squaring, of course, the Saturn-Uranus square in Aquarius and Taurus. We also had Jupiter retrograding on the cusp of Aries and Pisces. And we had basically a lot of really angular transits and a conflict between modality as well. So coming from like the major cardinal energy of the triple Capricorn conjunction of 2020 and moving into that fixed T-square of Saturn and Aquarius square Uranus and Taurus with the eclipses in Scorpio and Taurus, and then the nodes in fixed, and then having the Jupiter retrograde on the mutable cardinal cusp, it made how can I explain? It generated a type of reality where it was hard to really focus on one thing, and also very difficult to understand which path is right for you. And I think a lot of people had to kind of work with like multiple different paths, or juggle multiple different ways forward or connecting points in their life. And that, I think, can in a way weaken everything. So nothing may have really been done quite as well as it should have been done, but nonetheless, everything may have nonetheless been done in 2022. There's a feeling of like working those multiple jobs, having to caretake people while working, or having to wear multiple different hats. And that was also kind of tied definitely to the Jupiter retrogrades on the cusp of Pisces and Aries, where our luck seems to be vacillating between more of a ultimate cause, collective connection, emotionally relevant ending phase with Jupiter and Pisces, as compared to a completely self-determined new frontier, completely lacking in long-term momentum path. So that vacillation between those two options for a lot of people, I think, has really helped a lot of people, okay? Because that moving back and forth, that sort of, just vacillation does generate a lot of energy, okay? That's like life force energy. So I think that a lot of people have generated a lot of life force over 2022. I think a lot of people have understood the symbolic, and this is an important thing coming out of 2022. And if you've had a hard time, or if you've had something like go wrong, or you've had trauma in 2022, try to understand the symbolic or even maybe unseen aspects of your own formidable way, your own formidable nature, also your own like sort of essence, okay? Even if it's not something that other people are seeing, even if it's not something that is like for the public eye or for other people, I think that everybody has a bit of a treasure actually coming out of 2022 relating to their own essence or their own process of getting to know themselves. It was a really great year for starting to have like results of who we are. So whatever was happening in your life, like whatever conflicts, I think everybody had some conflict with the Saturn-Uranus square, especially if that hit your chart. Whatever conflicts came up, that will help you to understand yourself better. Whatever also, what do I want to say, like failures for some people, or things that fell through, will also help you to understand yourself. And if you've had something fall through, or if you've had something like disintegrate, I think that that's a great word. I think there was a major sort of collective disintegration happening in 2022 with especially, Jupiter and Pisces and those eclipses in Scorpio, and the nodes doing what they were doing. The Saturn-Uranus square, it very disintegrating energy. So like families falling apart, also sort of a social cohesion disintegration. So like previous norms or previous accepted methods of making money or of economizing or of connecting to other people, I think has had a major disintegration. And there's kind of, as a result of that, a lot of unconventional paths coming up, a lot of eccentricity and eclecticism manifesting in 2023, which is on one hand beautiful, but it also, it does bring with it a bit of chaos. It brings with it a bit of like, this is uncharted territory. I've got to experiment, or I've got to like, maybe nobody in a conventional place can really help me that much because it's so different, or it's so unaccustomed. People are so unaccustomed to it. So if you have a lot of like lack of conventionality coming out of 2022, I do think that that's in alignment with the collective momentum. I don't think that that's a bad place to be, but I think that we have to really understand which side of that we want to be on. That's a big part of 2023. It's like, okay, if I'm going to do the unconventional thing, that will bring with it some amount of like never-ending question mark, or some amount of also being in it alone or being in it independently, which can be very powerful. It's kind of like the Knights in tarot. It's like that rising into a new place, but maybe having to do that journey with yourself or with your own capabilities. And then also choosing a more conventional path can be interesting actually for some people in 2023, because there's kind of like an ancestral momentum, like the 1,000-year context where people's families or their bloodlines have maybe been involved in something for such a long time, and that can maybe be more of a collectively supported thing for people to do. So if you've come from a family of merchants or something, or whatever your family ancestral line is, it's actually quite interesting to think about reconnecting to those things, even if only learning from them, or even if only temporarily, because it does really feel like society has, in a weird way, kind of a demand or a hunger for more like conventional stuff because of how much unconventionality is becoming popular. So that's just food for thought. I can't really tell you which side of that is better. That's like up to the individual to choose. But coming out of 2022, there are opportunities on both sides of that. So that's kind of just feeding back into what I was talking about how just how opportune 2023 is for literally doing like whatever the heck you want. But then when you have so much opportunity, it's also a big test of your pineal gland, of your third eye. What's right for me? If I have all of these opportunities, all of these open doors, which one do I choose? And that's been something that's been coming up for the last few years. Actually, oddly enough, ever since 2020. It really opened a lot of doors, actually. And of course, many doors had to close in order for those to open. But I think that most people actually have more ability to enter certain places or be in certain places. And as we move into 2023, that is coming to a certain climax, or a certain, because it doesn't last forever. Okay. It's not like that forever. So there is going to be a need, especially in like the first like 8 or 9 months of 2023, to really understand what doors we would like to go through. So is there anything else I want to talk about finishing 2022? I would just as a kind of intuitive message for everybody coming out of 2022, I do feel that a lot of people have pushed not necessarily too hard, but just had to really go big, or had to maybe spend a lot of time, money, and energy to uphold their foundation while they were doing whatever it was they were doing. Try to make time for rest and rejuvenation. And I'm not just talking like laying on the couch all day. I'm talking about getting back into nature. I'm talking about experiencing new places. I'm talking about healthy diet, water, sunlight, and quiet and contemplative moments to understand, and for some people, unwind the knots that have been put up in 2022 inside. Okay, inside, not other people's knots. I'm not talking like going off on nature walks and thinking, gosh, how am I going to fix other people's lives? Not like that. But I think a lot of people coming out of 2022, because of the Jupiter-Neptune conjunctions, have a lot of confusion about why things happened, like unexpected events, and why certain relationships fell apart, or why certain people have become so angry with them as well. There's a feeling of like, this is hard to talk about, and but it's probably important to be said, like the individual feeling as if other people are angry with them, feeling as if other people don't want them to have what they have. And that's a greater thing that we need to understand why it's happening and really work on in 2023. Like, why are people so spiteful, perhaps, about like people who do well? Okay. And it can be for like really small things too. It doesn't mean that you have to like be on top of the world and other people want to bring you down, but like even just like small victories. I find that there's been a very kind of cruel and toxic feeling coming out of the last few years that really came to its most concentrated point, I would say in November of 2022, where people are really thinking a lot about the success of others, a very big growth of the envy archetype. So having envious people, not jealous, but envious people who don't just want what another person has, but thinks that another person shouldn't have what they have. That's actually stronger than I've ever seen it before. So I want you guys to know that. And I want you also to think about like, can I focus more on myself? And if you're like being envied by someone, you almost have to like distance, I think, for a lot of people. It's not the right move for everybody. And then also if you're experiencing envy or if you're experiencing any type of questioning process or dominated thought process about another person or what another person's free will has led them to, I would really try to work more with your own possibilities and alchemizing in your own life, because you also have to remember when you envy another person, and especially when it becomes real, like when it's not just an internal dialogue, but you maybe start talking bad about another person, or you start even like exercising some type of manipulation or some type of collective movement of energy towards someone that you envy, that gives them a lot of your energy. So how do celebrities stay celebrities? How do, powerful people stay powerful? It is partly because it's a major form of backhanded vampirism to experience envy. So if someone envies you, they're thinking about you. And this like foments you more or solidifies you more into like the collective I, which makes it then harder for you to like lose what you have. So that's a weird kind of alchemy that we're seeing as well. And I don't like it, but I think that it's been happening lately. And I think that it's something that people have to understand about like the wandering mind, or the way that people maybe naturally on impulse go to like thoughts of hate or thoughts of criticism when maybe they have like things to do with themselves. And I think that this is just an important thing and may resonate for many of you watching this. You know, if you've been dealing with people who have not been okay with you doing well. Okay, so, and then, you know, we have like arrogance as well. And we have some people who maybe have been like haughty or arrogant, and that can really bring in the envy too. And in which case it's important to also understand like humility here too, and making sure that you're not unnecessarily attracting weird energies like that, or unnecessarily attracting negative psychic attacks. Okay, very big year for psychic attacks we had in 2022, and all that kind of stuff. Everything in that category was very strong, with Jupiter being at the last part of Pisces. That's like huge psychic attacks, but then also maybe unwieldy or unconcentrated or unfocused. So messy, chaotic psychic attacks where people might lose control of their own psychic energy, or people might be out of, like just kind of busting out a lot of different psychic energies without realizing it. And that can like just kind of reverberate around. And I think that a lot of people have been having chaos just because people's psyches have been really all over the place. So that's something that we want to really see containment in, or healing in for the year ahead, because what that leads to, if you're out of control with your psychic energy, is that leads to drained, depleted, unpowerful, unprecise life experiences. So there were many lessons in 2022 about making things more precise, about concentrating your energy in a way that leads to meaningful results instead of just scattered, chaotic, or bad results. Okay. So coming out of 2022, there's a need to see, because everybody's on different sides of this. Some people are actually going through that. Some people have other people in their lives who they see are going through that, or some people are also like maybe victims of that happening as well. So it has a different connotation for each of those people. But one way or another, safety is going to be a big keyword for 2023. Protection and what I almost want to say the smartness of the aura, or the intelligence of the aura, to be strong enough to keep one safe, but also adaptable enough to not bar one away or hide one away from their opportunities. And that's really the key to 2023 is having a sort of lifestyle that protects you, but also does not isolate you from important life experiences. And that, I would say, those last few seconds of this video is like one of the biggest keys you can take away for the year ahead. And how can you maybe journal about that or think about that? Like, how can I have a very protected, safe life experience that doesn't isolate me or restrict my opportunity in bad ways, okay? But okay, everyone, let's talk about the overview of the year 2023. I will talk just intuitively about this year and tell you a little bit about some of the astrology transits happening that are the biggest ones that I have seen so far for the year coming in. I'm sure that I will be adding many onto it throughout the year. As I talk a lot about individual transits on this channel, be sure to subscribe if you're new to get those videos when they go out. But yes, I'm going to talk intuitively a little bit, then I will go through some astrology transits. Yes, as I was saying, safety and protection that doesn't block off opportunities is one of the most important things for 2023. But one of the first things I have written down is switch up and alchemize. So there is a change in the balance sheet, okay, for the year 2023. People have different things. People need to have different things. People need to transfer or have transferred by now, as we've had all this Aquarius energy, which is that archetype of transferring water from one container to another. We need to see that transfer has happened in 2023. We need to see that the balance sheet has been shifted. For some people, we've been very invested in one thing and it's had its moment, and now it's like getting blood from a turnip, and that energy has to be put into a different canister now. Try to not go into crazy self-defeating stories about, oh my gosh, this was once such a good thing for me, and now I have to work so hard to get so little from it, and I can't leave it behind. This is like kind of, it's a sort of like survival mechanic, I think, that humans have, where something that gives even just only one time will always be gone back to or always be returned to, because we know that it once gave. So if you can imagine like a spring with water in it, giving water for like a few years, and maybe the person returns to it. Maybe some natural disaster happens and the spring is like caved in and it stops producing water, but it's still like trickling. The person keeps going back to it, even though it can't give them enough water, because they know that it once did give them enough water. So 2023 is definitely a type of year where we need to seek out other springs, okay? The resources have really dried up for a lot of people, or some type of natural disaster or act of God has come in and really collapsed a lot of springs per se. And we have to be smart as people and override survival instincts sometimes. Okay, that's very interesting to think about for the year of 2023. And we have to be smart when we do that too. And again, here we are coming back to that place where it's like, oh no, if we don't have that nice pineal gland or that active third eye or healthy aura, we need all of those things to seek out new proverbial springs, okay? We have to be safe when we do it. You know, when you're exploring the new frontier or the new territory, that can be a time of danger because you're not familiar with that territory. You don't know what grows there, what inhabits that terrain, or what the weather is like, or anything. So it's very much a pioneer kind of energy. Yes, we have Jupiter moving into Aries for the last time. And this can be so much fun, you all, if we're safe and if we have like good instincts and if we have good health and the proper equipment. This can be an absolute blast. Jupiter in Aries. Oh my gosh, it's going to be such a relief for so many people to finally be able to go out on a new limb or to finally be able to explore new territories. But you have to prepare. And I will say that the first quarter of the year, it would be nice if we were already prepared, but that can be an important time of preparation for the next frontier. There's a feeling of really having to get oneself out there or having to find or experience new aspects of life. But for a lot of people, that muscle memory of going back to that spring that once gave a lot of water is more preferable because it's like they don't even have to think about it and they can just retrace those steps and kind of like think about other things. And that was something very freaky that I was seeing in the last part of 2022, was like people living one life, but envisioning a different life for themselves, but not really being confident enough to actually step in to what they're envisioning. So what that requires in order to maintain that type of vibration, it's a vibration, is a repetitive daily life. So going back to that same spring, instead of embarking new paths. It's really a year like no other for embarking new paths, and it's important to understand if you're maybe feeling fear of a new path, or if you're feeling fear of a new life experience, why that is. Is it because there's been like illness before? Is it because of a money thing? Is it because of trying to please other people, or trying to make other people comfortable by being predictable? I think that those are some pretty likely scenarios for a lot of people, though there are probably other reasons too. But I feel that if those things were right, or if those things were meant to work, they would already be working, and there wouldn't be these new paths really forming like this in this strong of a way. So I think it's very interesting for everybody to integrate something new. And this can be done on a sliding scale. So for some people, they can have, the same base camp or the same house or the same location, and then strike out a new path from there. For some people, I am seeing like having to get into a completely different location. But then for other people, they can keep a lot of stuff going quite normally and start introducing new things into like their home, for example. So introducing new furnitures, new habits, new biorhythms. Those are all ways that you can honor this if you're not, maybe wanting to completely change your life. This energy can totally be honored just by taking on like new hobbies, new projects, having new people in your house, visiting, making new friends is very important in 2023. I feel that there's a lot of stagnation in relationship energy due to the last few years. So that would also be important. Dating for some people, if you've been single for a long time, could be good, as we have some interesting Venus-Mars conjunctions in the sign of Leo, which really indicate animal magnetism and being a more attractive version of yourself. Or when I say more attractive, I mean like vibrationally, like allowing oneself to be open to new people, to attract new people in, whether that just be platonically or what have you. So that could mean something about the appearance as well, and the aura. Here we are going back to aura. I keep coming back to aura. I'm going to try you all in the new year to make an aura series for YouTube, where we can really work on this, because I think that it's really one of the most important things for the year ahead, because a lot of the issues of 2022 were results of weird auric imbalances. So that, again, keep subscribed, because I'm really going to try to do that soon here in 2023. But yes, people, I feel, are attracting strange things. I think that a lot of people, due to being kind of like out of whack with their own psychic power or their own psychic experience, have kind of like injured their own aura or injured their own life in order to, yes, alchemize a greater experience. It is part of the Jupiter-Neptune conjunctions that we had. But those will end now. As well, the Saturn-Uranus squares will end now. And we will be having, I guess it's a good time to segue into talking a little bit about astrology, but who knows what else we'll talk about. Yes, we have both Saturn and Pluto changing signs in the year of 2023 within, I believe, like a week and a half of each other. Saturn changing into Pisces and Pluto changing into Aquarius. Of course, also having Jupiter change sign a few months prior into Aries. Just off of saying that for like a few seconds, you guys can imagine how different this is. What different of a game we're looking at, what different of a lifestyle we're looking at, and what different of a societal, generational sort of backdrop we're looking at. To have two outer planets changing signs at the same time, in this case Saturn and Pluto, and then also Jupiter changing sign too. It's a middle planet, and Saturn is kind of middle as well, but I consider it in this case an outer planet, because it's just such a big deal that they would change signs within the same week of each other. Whenever you have outer planets change signs, you look at a change in generational preference, and especially whenever Pluto changes signs, that is a new generation. So the people being born once Pluto goes into Aquarius are the next generation, and then also the previous generation will start to have more control. So We're looking at younger generations getting more power with Pluto and Aquarius. We're looking at youth being something that's more powerful as perhaps a like slingshot opposite reaction to the power of the elder with Pluto and Capricorn. And we are looking at also a heavily dominated like social media landscape and a disequilibrium from nature, which for me personally, I'm going to be compensating by pushing more into nature and learning more about nature, because I think that we're getting imbalanced with the technology thing. So that's going to be another part of 2023 for a lot of people, is making that choice. Is my life dominated by technology? How much is nature in my life? How much is it not? Am I afraid of nature? I think that a lot of people are starting to fear nature more and are thinking, oh my gosh, if I'm on the grid, I'm safe. If I'm, if I have my smartphone with me, I'm safe. If I have my, social media account to look at while I'm like waiting for the doctor's appointment, I'm safe. I'm getting better. I don't know. There's a lot of crazy dogmas coming up around these devices, and 2023 is going to really solidify, having Pluto at 0 degrees, and of course it's going to retrograde back. It's not in Aquarius forever. It will go back into Capricorn. So we will get kind of the first taste in 2023 of what Pluto and Aquarius will mean. I'll try to make an individual video about it. I'm not going to go too much into it here, but it's definitely the power of social media. It's the power of AI. It's the power of youth as well. Specifically, when I say youth, it's not just young people, because you can have youthful 80-year-olds as far as I'm concerned, and you can also have elderly 20-year-olds. This is, age is a natural demarcation, but the youthful psychology or the youthful essence or expression will become more dominant with Pluto and Aquarius. And I see like a grouping as well with certain youthful ideas or like brand new ways of doing things that are new frontiers that have not been tested, that have not been regulated either, or have not really ever been put into action before being tested. So it's going to be a big time of experimentation and testing. And that can be great for innovation, but also worrisome for human rights, worrisome for a lot of things. And then even without this energy, there are worries along those lines that come up too. With the Pluto and Capricorn as well is a big concern. Pluto in this whole area of the zodiac, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, is going to have major, millennium-long impacts on, what are our thoughts about what rights someone has? What are our thoughts about whether someone should be able to go somewhere or leave somewhere, or, like location is a big thing with these three signs. Like, I'm here, I'm there, I'm like flying from this place to that place, or I'm crossing this border there. It's a big part about Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, like who is where and who is placed where and who is allowed to go where, is over this like long period of time of Pluto from Capricorn to Pisces being very much cemented as a certain like global construct. So I would expect 2023 to really be bringing up a lot of questions about who is allowed to go where. Maybe there will be weird things about like crossing borders or people being, this is not just like physical, it is physical, but this is psychological too. So like people's own borders, people's own boundaries. I think a lot of people are in a personal border boundary crisis. Like what do I allow myself to do? Who do I allow myself to meet? Where do I allow myself to go? As you might see that coming through since 2020, it's very strict. Like maybe you don't realize it, but you're not letting yourself like leave your house as often as you should. Or maybe you're not really allowing yourself to experiment with your youth or with your new experiences. I think people kind of fear, or there is a pretty big collective fear of new things or new paths, yet 2023 demands them to come through in some way. So those conflicts still kind of come through, but they are much more solvable, I think, in 2023 than they were in 22. Something else I've written down is a contemplation in moderation. So a few seconds ago, I was talking about how we maybe need to be in nature and maybe need to contemplate. But I think that thinking, contemplation, figuring things out in the mind, There is room for it always in life, and of course there is in 2023. But in moderation, we do really need to see some action and some actual doing or figuring out or allowing of life to move in 2023. Also, we want to actually be there and in the present rather than being in the future or the past. The timelessness of Jupiter in Pisces, conjunct Neptune, led a lot of people to kind of like not be there. There's kind of a bit of a like absence, or people kind of being vacant or not really there because they're vibrationally almost transcending the body. Okay. We need to get into the body. We need to work on more grounding in the year of 2023 because we do actually have like real lives. And timeless character. Okay. The question of identity, the question of reputation is going to the next level in 2023 as well. It was very much on the forefront in 2022, but it's also coming into 2023 because a lot of people don't know who they are. A lot of people are asking these existential questions. Who am I? What am I doing? Why am I here? What am I contributing? How am I getting stronger? And how do other people see it? I think that there is a pretty big obsession actually with like, how do other people see me, or how do other people see what I'm doing? So that needs to also be understood. And a lot of people do have to maybe go more conventional routes or more tried and true routes in order to accept within themselves what they are projecting or who they are becoming. So yeah, projection issues, gossip, affiliations, image, those are also quite strong in 2023. There's a big Leo, Taurus energy coming through in 2023, and there is also especially at the end of the year, things can get like very jealous or angry again to kind of, and we'll go more through these timelines here in a second. But yeah, watch out for gossip, watch out for also affiliation. So like affiliating yourself with someone who gossips a lot. Also duplicity or two-facedness will still be remaining from 2022. There is also something about the beauty of your inner experience coming up in 2023. So I think that a lot of people haven't really maybe had the time in 2022 to really embrace the beauty of what they're going through. But I think a lot of people have wanted to. So it's a great time in 2023 to make beautiful things, okay? It's a great time to also just feel it personally for yourself and not have to like brag about it or not have to display it as much either. But it's about this sort of like personal sense of beauty that is also very opportune and very spiritual, okay? So if you've had like deaths in the family, or if you've had a lot of like unexpected losses, it's a very important time, okay, to create beauty for yourself and to not let that be contingent on another person's validation or another person's vote, okay? So watch carefully for seeking advice from people about whether you should do something you want to do or not. I think that a lot of people have to do this sometimes, but I also think that there are a lot of people, and I've been feeling this for like the last few years, people don't want anybody to do anything different. People don't want it's like the negative Capricorn energy. People don't want to see anybody like trying something new, don't want to see anybody doing something they want to do. Like people just want people to like work their jobs and like do what they do and never change. And like, I don't know, after a few years, after many, many years, like, this is harsh, but like die never having tried what they wanted to try. Or they don't realize that that's what they're suggesting. So yeah, that is really harsh, but that's the severity of what we're working with here too, is like, are people allowed to do what they want to do? And how much do they also rely on the approval of loved ones or other people to choose their path? These, to me, are some of the most like spiritual questions of 2023, and we need time and solitude. I am seeing the Hermit card as one of the cards, but I'll talk more about that in a second too. I am seeing that as a needed movement to oneself or to one's own personal choice making, rather than seeking approval from others. One of the main archetypes that I've been seeing for the year ahead is the Fool. Okay, like in the tarot, I've been seeing that image a lot in correlation with what I'm feeling for 2023. I've also, been seeing the Hermit, and I have been seeing the Judgment card as well. So combining like the Fool, the Hermit, and the Judgment card, that feels like judging your own experience. That feels like being your own sort of guide, or that does feel like a very independent energy. And I've been kind of like dissecting over the last few months, like, gosh, how independent versus how reliant do we want to be on others? Because independence is great, but it can also be a vacuum. It can be like everything that you have to do on your own prevents you from kind of like getting to the next level. At the same time, when you're too reliant on other people, they then may prevent you from getting to the next level. So interestingly, yes, with Jupiter going into Aries, we are probably moving into a slightly more independently dominated time. Though, I mean, yes, we have Pluto into Aquarius and Saturn into Pisces, which are very collective and very non-independent. So they may kind of counterbalance this a little bit. So it is about being in balance. It's about having a very positive balance between how independent / how reliant one is. But the Fool and the Hermit are kind of similar. Something has to be done on one's own here, okay, in 2023. Some type of decision, some type of path, some type of choice has to be made alone. So for some people, it's like a sabbatical in 2023. It's very wonderful if you have the type of job where you can do that. That would be very positive. Also, it can be done without that. So it can be done through nature walks. It can be done through being in new territories in some way or another. Very important. Also, through understanding what you've lost. The Judgment card has a lot to do with death, okay? So it has a depiction of rising to some type of understanding because of what was lost. So that's a big important part of 2023, and the decision that we make or the choice that we make is correlated to understanding what we've lost or understanding what hasn't worked, and allowing certain things to recede or deplete or become smaller so that there's more time for other things. So that's one of the main things about 2023 is giving yourself the space to have these moments. If you are the type of person who works too hard or the type of person who clocks in too many hours, this can be a highly issue-filled year because it takes like a lot of free space to work with this type of high form energy. Because I think that a lot of people have to make like long-term plans here, and that could be like, what do I want to say, pushed down in the hierarchy of priorities, the need to make these higher life decisions, and then like the paycheck or the job could supersede the need to understand the longer term momentum. So that becomes a very unfortunate energy where like what's our life force going to? That's why, and you know, it depends on the person here, because some people are still working with like a momentum where they have to save up or they have to do that, like to survive, in which case there are still options there. What I'm really talking about here is not having to do it, okay, but choosing it, or like working in vain or doing things that are like not even necessary to get you where you want to be, sacrifices of time, basically losses of valuable time for things that don't matter. We need to really cut some of those things. And that's another thing that I had written down. I think I might have said this a second ago, but I want to repeat it. Cut losses and give yourself room. Okay. And I'm seeing some people, this is kind of like extreme, but I'm seeing some people because things have gotten so detrimental and so toxic, and also people are really bearing down on them. Some people have to cut everything that's toxic in their life, or that they even perceive to be toxic. And that is extreme. Like I hesitate to use words like never or everything, or because that's very like strong. But some people are in that type of like domain where maintaining any of these toxic links or maintaining any of these sort of like also chaotic unknowns. I don't like that coming out of 2022. I don't like the idea of something being unknown to be a good or bad thing in our life, as that's probably very likely for a lot of people with the Jupiter-Neptune conjunctions. Jupiter moving into Aries now indicates, especially as it moves through Chiron later in the year, that's a major turning away and a major powering forward in a completely different kind of momentum for a lot of people, because something has gotten so stagnant or sort of like energetically molded or energetically gross, that it's starting to lead to a lot of like really gross manifestations as well. So people have to like really, so in more mundane terms, the addictions really can't go forward here in 2023, because that has us walking back to that old spring, you know, that I was talking about earlier in the video. That has us walking back and trying to squeeze blood out of turnips that may not have anything for us anymore, in order to maintain these toxic patterns. So what's important is not having anything that requires you to be tracing certain steps, because that is what is generating this stagnant energy. And that's what's leading people to kind of like suspend disbelief or think about other possibilities, but not really act on them. And kudos to you if you've already kind of figured this out in 2022, because this is already here. Like this was already apparent for a lot of, especially psychic people in 2022. But 2023 becomes kind of, for some people, like, such a required year for finally, I don't want to say growing up, because again, youth is important, especially in psychological bearing. But when it comes to like addictions, or when it comes to things that we know are not contributing to our long-term, or are not helping other people, are not ultimately going to provide a good result. So things even that are, and this is hard for some people, but things that are just so great right now, but we know will be a net negative in the future, have to really be seen as that in 2023. And for a lot of people, changed or even completely cut off in order to provide themselves with the beautiful experience that they have earned. Okay. So again, this can be anything from addictions to like also toxic relationships, and then those chaotic unknowns as well, because that sometimes is like a psychic attack as well, like not knowing, not being able to place something, not being able to decide whether it's good or bad. It's not necessarily psychic attack, but I'm just saying if you're having that in your life, you might want to, yes, really work on rebuilding the aura, and also work on cultivating relationships with people who aren't so dangerous or so crazy. Okay, we have to be better at detecting good from bad people moving into 2023. Strong third eye chakra, strong pineal gland, good instincts, which means sobriety, which means healthy diet, which means healthy body, which means we have to be very strong. Not strong. Strong is actually not the right word, because strong indicates something unsustainable as well. So we have to be healthy. We have to be adept. We have to be willing also to work with the longer term momentums in ways that allow us to be happy now, but also ways that make us feel more safe regardless of what happens. It's also a very nice year, I would say, you all, for there's going to be some a question of like a religion and faith for a lot of people as Saturn moves into Pisces. So what am I adhering to? What are my spiritual values? What are like the also like legalities of my faith and things like that? That will be coming up over 2023 and especially into 2024. That's, I think, good for some people. Of course, we don't want to go crazy with it. Like there can also be weird things that happen there. But knowing that you're safe because of your intentions, knowing that you're safe because you don't have bad intentions, knowing that you're, and like that being true, of course, like not just telling yourself that, but like really cleaning up the thoughts or cleaning up the, like, you know, are you wanting something bad to happen to someone? Are you angry with someone still? Are you constantly feeling resentment, envy, wrath, greed, or any of those things? I mean, it's kind of like actually a really good thing to think about here, because if we can kind of clean that up and get into a healthier mindset, you start to fear less what happens to you, because you know that there's a certain meaning to it, because the karma is not bad. Okay, so working with better karmas, working with kinder actions, working to yes, be a better person for some people, or to just be a more caring and healing presence. I do feel there's been a lot of clumsiness and a lot of accident indication as well for the last few years. So the karma does need a cleaning, and the protections and boundaries and barriers need to be rethought, I think, as well in 2023. So in order to do that, I do feel that people need extra time, and I feel that they need to like be very attentive to their health and bodies. And also I think that they need, nonetheless, a strong connection to purpose. So it is evolving this sort of multifaceted reality that we were dealing with in 2022 with all those different pulls of energy, having to do so many different things, but it's evolving it in a way where everything is alchemized better and where everything is brought more preferably into a balance or an amount. So changing the amounts of things, changing how much you do here and there, and adjusting things, final adjustments, okay, to get all of this into a more loving and healthily karmic reality. Okay. So yeah, it's a magical year. It's going to be a magical year ahead, I really think, for a lot of people who want nice lives. Astrologically, we have some really interesting events happening. We actually have a 3-month period of all planets direct in 2023. So congratulations, everyone. Because of all the retrogrades we've had in 2022, that means a longer period of all planets direct in 2023. From January 22nd until April 21st of 2023, we have no retrogrades. That's what all planets direct means. No retrogrades, meaning that we have such a powerful opportunity to forge ahead and to do some really, really strong life planning. So, I mean, that's like the first, that's the first 3 months of the year. So a lot of the beginning of 2023 is so opportune and so deeply capable of changing us, or us changing our lives in meaningful, positive ways. If you've needed to do anything mundane, like big purchases or any type of big life choices, like doing this job or that degree or that move or whatever those things that you have been kind of ruminating on for a while, it is good to measure or to act during that all planets direct phase. And it's just such a great progressing time for people, progressing their identity, progressing their goals, progressing their cause is a really, really great for that period of time. And as I mentioned, we do have a Saturn and Pluto changing sign within a week of each other. But also, in order for that to happen, it means that they have to semi-sextile each other at the anaretic degree. So we'll have like Saturn at 29 degrees Capricorn and, Saturn at 29 degrees Aquarius and Pluto at 29 degrees Capricorn. So that's going to be interesting and crazy and very kind of like clashing for big power plays, but then they change signs and everything just changes. And there's a huge paradigm shift in the sort of societal and generational backdrop. We have very transformative both Pisces and Taurus season in 2023. So if you've been wanting to make plans, look into Pisces and Taurus season. They are very strong also, especially with Pisces being all planets direct, but Taurus still not having that many retrogrades either. Those are going to be very strong times for making life changes. Also, Jupiter moves very fast throughout the first half of the year. It's already in Taurus by the month of June. So it goes all the way through Aries. It's so crazy to think about, from like December to June, and of course it will then retrograde back into Aries. But being that Jupiter is moving so fast throughout the first half of 2023, it means fast luck, and Jupiter loves the sign of Aries. That means forward stride. That means pushing ahead. That means being strong with your cause and your purpose, and it means some element of quickness and speed as well. So try to not get hung up on things for very long. Try to not overthink and over contemplate, and just get stuck in sort of like overthinking things. I think that's been very prevalent for the last few years, and that's hoping to conclude during this first half of the year. And just to remind you all, like the first half of 2023 is so opportune. How many times can I say it? But like, I just want you to know, like, this is a really, really powerful period of time to change your life at any level. And then the second half, and especially the last quarter of 2023, not so good. to be there by then. So we have a little bit of a deadline and a little bit of a time limit, which I would say will be around the time of July when Pluto goes back into Capricorn. So the 4 months that it spends in Aquarius is such a great time to get ahead in your life and to implement the changes that you've needed. At the same time, careful with rushing things, because the all planets direct, which happens from January until April, as well as Jupiter moving through the entire sign of Aries from December 2022 to June 2023, says that there will be a lot of changes made and perhaps a lot of rushing or push in to these wonderful new opportunities and circumstances opening up. At the same time, people could come out of that period of time thinking, whoa, where did all of my time, money, and energy go? Or what have I done? Or what changes have I made here? And we want to make sure that we're really contemplating and considering all of the outcomes of the choices we make. But at the same time, there's not going to really be an ability to hold it totally back. So with Saturn changing sign, Pluto changing sign, Jupiter zooming all the way through like that, the sign of Aries, we can't not change things, or we can't totally turn off the need for change. So it is going to be a highly transformative period of time in the first half of the year. In the second half of the year, however, it's going to really change up, and there will be a redirection of thought and also a revisiting or a review of the changes that were made. So we do want to really be mindful of the long-term momentum that we're generating and the way that the choices we make specifically in the first half of the year will be paid for or will be worked with for the oncoming time. So especially if you've been having things that you don't like in your life or things that you want to change, be careful about chaining yourself to those things, or be careful about making certain commitments that make those really status quo, because that could be possible too. Like people might be really willing to take out loans here, or really willing to do whatever it takes to have that change. You want to find creative solutions, and you want to find ways that things can work where you don't sap other opportunities. Consider opportunity cost as well in the year of 2023, as by the end of the year, we can't really afford to keep relegating our true dreams and desires to the bottom of the hierarchy of priorities, because we also, with the way the energy is coming together at the end of the year, we have a wonderful like Mars in Sagittarius. I mean, things are looking like very formidable by the end of 2023. Saturn moves back to the cusp of Aries and Aquarius and Pisces, and of course Pluto moves back into the anaretic degree of Capricorn. We have a lot of retrograde Taurus energy, Jupiter and Uranus both being retrograde towards the end of 2023 in the sign of Taurus. The nodes will have shifted signs to Libra and Aries, but would have recently been in Taurus and Scorpio. So there could be like regrets over how money was spent, regrets over the lifestyle that was chosen, regrets about what we consumed as well, with Jupiter and Uranus both being retrograde in Taurus after a nodal axis of Taurus and Scorpio as well. So Libra season looks very, very strong as well, because there will be like Libra stelliums, and there will be with the nodes moving into Libra and the Chiron opposition to that, we will be definitely measuring the way things were spent, whatever that is, time, money, or energy, with a very fine-tooth comb. And you can imagine that in so many different ways, like having to account for what you've spent, having to account for decisions made, having to really get more deliberate with how we are choosing to take on those spending habits, because those are determining so much about what we have to do, the work we have to do, the places we have to be. So it's great to really par down those expenses, and to also par down on what we owe as well. A great year for tackling debt. Great year for tackling debt. Great year for also creating new forms of income. Like, though they're really wonderful, creative, and also ethical, also sustainable ways of generating more solid means of having a nice life if that's what you would like here. But it's very connected to redoing your ideas on consumerism, or redoing also what you choose to consume, reducing those expenses, reducing also certain contracts and obligations seems important. And as you start to create maybe a new persona, or a new persona isn't really the right concept, because there is kind of a crisis of like persona. It's more like as you create a new lifestyle or a new series of habits in your life, by the end of 2023, a lot of people will be the most formidable they've been. Okay, so really, I'm seeing that people aren't willing to stay in these disempowering places, or people aren't willing to chain themselves to things unnecessarily. So these obligatory societal constructs also seeming to not really draw people or attract people in the way that they did before. Again, that unconventionality really growing and perhaps becoming more popular. It's very easy also by the end of 2023. Okay, this is an interesting situation that I'm seeing by the end of the year. Being okay with the fact that you can't please everybody, being less burdened by the opinions of other people, but also not necessarily needing to have certain effects, or not needing to have certain impacts on people necessarily. So like basically not holding yourself to impossible standards, and getting a lot stronger through basically respecting that you are creating a certain world for yourself that is not necessarily determined by others, or is not necessarily reliant on other people's approval. Okay, so yeah, there's going to be like new countercultures coming in, and also criticism cultures as well. It will be very easy by the end of 2023 to not really be able to escape like criticism for some people, but it doesn't really matter either, because there's nothing that really that the criticism can do, or there's nothing really that these negative opinions mean other than being a sort of form of psychic attack, or a form of like causing people to implode on themselves. So if you can kind of solve that and not like implode on yourself, this is really like, I think, the basis of getting stronger here, or getting more formidable, because a lot of the grid that I'm seeing it by the end of 2023 is so reputationally focused, and so identity focused, and so like deeply internalized, that it almost is detaching from external reality. So it gives people a certain like actually like ability for independence, or for autonomy in like the real world and in reality, because there's so much concentration on the internalized mind. So being stuck in the mind, I think, is quite detrimental coming out of 2022. And to some degree, the year of 2023 has a lot of energy regarding like how much are we keeping in our mind, and then how much are we like in real life. Okay, it is really nice to let things be real, and to enjoy the real world. Again, enjoying nature, getting out into nature, getting around also like people that are supportive. Okay, having supportive people is good. There are times also where we need people who don't just say yes to everything, or people who don't necessarily support like bad things in our lives. But I do feel that 2023 is an important time for support from people. And if you're around a lot of people who aren't supportive, I would try to at least find supportive groups, even like very like literally support groups. So like AA, or any type of group that deals with something like an addiction, or some type of support could be positive, because I actually would think that would be a fascinating way to channel the all planets direct energy as well in 2023, is through very specifically themed group work, or very specifically themed programs that like have a very specific objective, and that are less nebulous in what they're doing for you. Because I do feel that with Jupiter and Aries, and with the all planets direct phase, and the way that it's going to then be like reviewed later in the year, or looked back at, it needs to be very direct and clear. So, that's a great thing to maybe conclude on before we get into the sign to sign. Being direct in what you're doing. Okay, we've had so many years here to kind of like read between the lines and have a certain even lack of transparency or suspension of disbelief as well, in order to cross through very hard thresholds. And now a year like 2023 with this Jupiter in Aries and this all planets direct really comes in to disambiguate some of the difficulties and some of the paths also that we've chosen to step on. So understanding that the year of 2023 probably may not maintain some of the security veils or some of the also negative suspensions of disbelief, and also a fictionalization of certain events that now need more clarity, is important to understand how we move forward from here, because we need to really understand what we're working with. And we want to see also that we have an understanding of our narrative too, as I do think that there is maybe a pending energy with like what exactly it is that we're trying to be a part of here. So we might want to also work with that and maybe get ahead of that, or understand the purpose of being certain places in a way that is not so unclear, as Jupiter in Aries wants to really, and Pluto in Aquarius, and Saturn in Pisces, all have a sort of demand about clarifying the purpose of being within a certain like really kind of unclear environment. That's kind of hard to explain, but if you can imagine understanding your path through the fog, or why you chose to be in a certain place and what it meant for the grander theme of your life, rather than just being like bogged down in the fog. Okay. It's kind of funny sounding, but that's, I think, an important thing about the year of 2023 is really figuring out that why factor, and enjoying, not getting discouraged by it, not getting freaked out. Because also when humans zoom out like that and see like the big picture, that can be hard. We are human at the end of the day. And there is a degree that the experience needs to be first person and doesn't need actually to be so like in control of things by knowing like these bigger pictures. But nonetheless, we're still coming from 2022, which had a lot to do with zooming out like that. So we're kind of like combining this like big picture understanding with a first person narrative that is also not going to know the answers, or not going to know exactly what comes next, because it is so in the moment. So understanding how to combine that, and understanding how to like maybe understand the previous big picture, and then really step into that fool's journey, or step into the first person, seems to be a very, very 2023 type of experience. But yeah, let's talk about the sign to sign. I've talked enough about these intuitive messages, and I'm so excited to narrow this down and talk about each of our wonderful, wonderful zodiac signs in the year of 2023. And first up, of course, we have the sign of Aries. Welcome, Aries, to your 2023 year ahead forecast. Okay, what I have written down for you is very simple. It's just maintaining your inner flame. Okay, so all of the fire signs in the year of 2023 have a very specific kind of advantage. We're going to have this really beautiful Venus-Mars conjunction in the last decan of Leo, which really stays strong throughout the summer and builds up. Also, we have Pluto moving into Aquarius, which will really add some very gravitational air, which of course increases the fire element. Pluto in Capricorn, ever since 2008, has not been great for the fire signs, okay? Because firstly, for Aries, it's a square, but it has kind of put out fire energy, right? Because it's like earth, it's dirt, it's a very heavy, deep structure, which fire can struggle to work with. As Pluto moves into the sign of Aquarius, like very immediately, it's going to give you, I think, a boost of energy. And you're going to be facing a lot of questions in the year of 2023 about how you maintain the energy and how you kind of hold your vision. That's also what Leo is going through, is like, how do I hold and make consistent or maintain the fire within? So it's going to be really good this year to do things that help build up and support the fire element, having nice fresh air around you, having also less cold, less sterile, less frigid energies around so that you can grow this energy. It could be wonderful to travel to a desert. It could be wonderful to also be near volcanoes or near anything natural that correlates to the fire element. Also, you can bring this into your home, bringing in certain stones, bringing in certain, like volcanic stones or any other stones correlated with the fire element, like obsidian or fire opal as well. Could all be really good just as small things to do. Yes, so as you guys heard in the beginning of the forecast, Jupiter is moving through your sign from December 2022. It enters back into Aries, and by June of 2023, it is moving into Taurus. That's very fast, okay? What you were going through in 2022, where Jupiter was retrograding so much on the cusp of Aries and Pisces, was probably very frustrating because it would have felt as if you were just almost ready to cross that next threshold, or you were just almost ready to take that big leap of faith, but then got pulled back by maybe some kind of emotional turmoil or some kind of also concern about how you would be perceived. What was your faith also telling you, with Jupiter and Pisces, about the next leap of faith, perhaps being constrained by that even. And that's going to change here. So even by the time you're getting this video, Jupiter will be into Aries. And it's important to know that this next 6 months, first 6 months of 2023, will be a very important time to not hold yourself back, okay? To not restrict your own potential and to learn how to maintain your inner flame so that you're not maybe wanting to nap the time away, which I wouldn't think would be very possible anyway, because the Jupiter and Aries energy will just make you feel like you want to do it. You want to move forward. You want to get stronger. And then also the Venus, Mars, and Leo that we have will probably contribute to your attractiveness and make you more compelling for other people as well. Aries season, Leo season, and Sagittarius season will all be very possible times, opportune times for you, as well as Gemini season and also Aquarius season of 2023. So like February 21st to March 21st. Any air or fire sign will be a really good time of the year for you to advance, for you to progress. And also Chiron still moving strongly through your sign. It's getting so advanced, and it is going to be connected to with Jupiter, okay? So we're going to have Jupiter-Chiron conjunctions, of course, during 2023, during this build-up through the first 6 months. It's going to move quickly, but that could be a very, very potent spiritual experience, also like a key. You're maybe luckily granted a key to open something that hasn't previously been available to you. So I think that that's probably the main thing about the year of 2023 is like, what are you trying to get access to? What are you also like trying to get access to things that don't matter, or trying to create all these narratives or stories around doors that you really don't even have to enter as well? Being able to distinguish between what is sort of a tangential use of energy versus what is a very necessary or meaningful use of energy is important, and all a part of maintaining this inner flame. You don't want to be like really throwing your energy all around, so spending a lot of money here, there, and everywhere, going around here, there, and everywhere without really a concise or cohesive plan behind that. So it's very good to measure really well leading into 2023, and then just let yourself move forward and move out also of things that you don't feel totally right about anymore. So that's beautiful. Let's talk about Taurus in the year of 2023. Okay, so what I have written down for you, Taurus, is simplify and seek undisputable value. So we are coming from the year of 2022 where we have had the North Node in your sign, we've had Uranus in your sign, and we've had a lot of chaotic Scorpio energy, as well as Saturn and Aquarius, these Saturn-Uranus squares. I mean, your sign was one of the most, all the fixed signs were, one of the most kind of conflicted naturally energies. And why did that happen? It's important to set out in 2023 and understand, why was I so conflicted? Why could I not really connect to myself in the way that I wanted to? Why was I always thinking of that other person? It was very possible in 2022 for Taurus to have like a flashbacks or even like a PTSD type of situation, difficulty relating to the previous trauma that might have led to crazy coping mechanisms. So take a look at your coping mechanisms in 2023, because the North Node will stay in your sign. I believe it's until July when it will move into Aries. So you still have a lot of this, like the question of like, what is the value of your time, money, and energy? What are you consuming? What are you allowing into your life? And this can be anything. I've been talking extensively about this on this channel, about instituting more thorough quality checks about that which we choose to accept into our lives. So what we're consuming for food, what we're consuming for media, what we're consuming, anything that you can imagine has to get really thorough, especially by like May of 2023. I mean, there's still really time here at the beginning of this year, but May 2023 sees you completely relinquishing some type of really destructive content or material that isn't good for you. So definitely kicking of addictions, definitely seeing like the long-term effect of like what that which you once deemed yourself powerless to actually does to you over the long term. And then we kind of re-question like, am I really powerless to that? So sometimes people with an addicted personality type will, due to discouragement or due to even a feeling of conviction, they will refuse sometimes to make any changes because like, it's too late, I'm too far gone. This is also very possible for Taurus, even over like the last 10 years, to have had these weird kind of like soul depleting experiences where they're like, it's too far gone, why do I even try? You know, I've already like crossed over to the dark side, why even try to get out of it? That is a big change in 2023. And I see a lot of Taurus really changing to the other side, or changing and realizing that they do actually have power still. And that just being like present in their moment and just breathing here in this wonderfully electrifying and fresh year of 2023 is in and of itself opportune and in and of itself empowering. So what a wonderful time to break some contracts, Taurus, with you. Not even with anybody else. I mean, you can do that too, but with you, you got to maybe stop signing yourself on to certain like lifestyle habits, or signing yourself on also to certain social media trends, or certain any types of fads or trends. The North Node in Taurus has been really destructive for really fixating or solidifying things that are not meant to be timeless. So trying to make the temporary fixture in life a timeless aspect has been the challenge of North Node in Taurus. And also what will happen as we move into the next nodal axis in July with the Libra South Node and Aries North Node is it will start to really question in a very officious way, actually, what is the truth and what is the actuality of that which you're engaging. So it's very important in the first half of 2023. We have every opportunity here to really get things right, to really get things in integrity, and to really also understand and refuse maybe to disempower ourselves to the degree where we think, I can't change this, I can't do what I want to do. Those types of mindsets are very prevalent coming out of 2022 because it's a very existential year. With the Jupiter-Neptune conjunctions and the Saturn-Uranus square of 2022, it makes people feel as if like the span of their power, majority of people feel very disempowered by that, but then also some people are on the polar opposite side, and I'm sure many of the Taurus listening to this may also be like feeling so much stronger than ever, in which case congratulations. But if you're there, okay, because I actually feel that a lot of Taurus listening to this might actually be there, where they're like, I'm now at the strongest point in my life. I would say there are still a few things that are restraining that energy. So we have to really look at confines, and we have to look at, debt is a great example. Addiction, debt, spending habits. I'm thinking of North Node and Taurus stuff here. Status orientations as certain shackles, okay, to preventing the true potential. Okay, so reclaiming oneself is very vital for the year 2023. And you can learn like a lot also from the South Node in Scorpio. Because Scorpios have really had this strongly as well, where it's like, now we know ourselves enough to reclaim what we lost. Now we know ourselves enough to also account or engage the longer momentum than just us. So working with the ancestry, working with also other groups of people or other collectives who can help with like teamwork. It's much easier to do things with a group of people than it is alone. And I think that the individualism that some Taurus might have been feeling is also maybe wrapping up for some of them here, because you start to realize like what it really takes and what it costs, and that's different for everybody. But you want to simplify and seek undisputable value. So investments, clinging to currency or money or whatever asset it is. I find, just in our global economy right now, yes, those things are very disputable. So undisputable value, what does that look like to you? Might be good to journal. I'm not going to tell you what that is. I'm not going to prescribe for you what is undisputably valuable. That's not my place, but it is your place with your learning thus far and your new philosophies coming in to understand what to you is an undisputable source of value. But I will give you a hint. It is not tied directly to human created asset values. So it's not going to be in the dollar or the stock account, but I mean, certainly those things can give us a feeling of value. But it is important to, and this is great, this is wonderful little segue. Understanding what is real and what isn't, understanding what is an illusion, understanding, because you might have like a weird kind of, a lot of Taurus might be having, coming into 2023, a weird kind of split or disarray or disequilibrium about what is truly valuable. They might see through currency, they might see through economy, be like, yeah, I understand it is, always subject to change, and I understand that by participating in it, that there's no real like long-term guarantee, but it might also work out. Yet at the same time, you might be looking at things like the dating culture or dating apps as like something that you're willing to participate in frequently, and not really understanding that these are actually similar types of constructs with nothing behind them and completely illusory to some extent, though certainly capable of creating real results. Certainly you can spend the money, you can buy something, you can form a relationship with someone on a dating app. Those are real results, but the connector, the currency or the app or whatever it is, are not real. So we question, why is it that we need them, and why can't I have power over that which I have in my life without these shackles controlled by other people? So it's a big, wonderful time for breaking free of the money obsession, for breaking free of the fear of solitude, needing to consistently date, needing to consistently also engage strange media forms. That's very vital, I think, for your sign this year. Otherwise, if it goes past into like North Node in Aries, North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra. So if we're getting to September, especially of 2023, not having understood a more undisputable form of value, very good year for spirituality and even religion, Taurus. Higher forces, higher powers that totally transcend these fleshy power. Of course, you don't want to go crazy. You don't want to make it over the top, but that seems like a very nice place to also find a greater sense of undisputable value as well. So simplify as well, especially if you have 25 different credit cards, or you have these crazy portfolios of investments that are maybe well diversified, but also impossible to keep track of. Pay attention to things like that. Pay attention to a kind of energy of cystic acne, where we have 1,000 different things, all with various levels of energy investment that are on one hand good because they're so decentralized or so well spread apart, but also not really representative maybe of any real form of confidence or any real form of significance. So basically what's happening there energetically is a pulling apart, or again, the word is disequilibrium coming up, or lack of trust in any one thing. So we're putting things everywhere, and then it loses the real gravitation. So it's important, I think, for this sign, for Taurus, to think about, and I'm not suggesting that you change that strategy. And again, I'm not a financial advisor. This is just really I suppose a metaphor for the energy going on, is being overly spread out or lacking trust in any one thing, yet still participating, yet still inflaming this energy line. It's better, I think, to focus more on you and to focus more on the health as well and the well-being rather than going crazy and acquiring. North Node in Taurus is like a frenzied factory. It's like overproduction. It's overspending. It's inflation. It's all of that stuff. So we're in the last part of that, and that's when it can get really severe. So it's good to really seek other more meaningful forms of just meaning. And then by the end of the year, Taurus, whoa, I feel your sign absolutely capable of doing the big stuff and stepping onto the really meaningful path. But the thing is if you can't find a greater source of meaning because of how distorting or kind of spread out the energy becomes, it becomes hard to really detect or identify meaning. So watch out. Moral of the story, watch out for desensitization, okay? Or dulling of the senses, constant headphone use, constant consumption of media, constant eating of crazy different foods, and an overall dulling of the senses. Therefore, it becomes harder to really get around or to know where to go. And this kind of creates really lethargic, kind of out of it people. And that's not what we want. But that is what North Node in Taurus actually does. It's a desensitizing, dulling energy, which is not always a terribly bad thing. If we're oversensitized or which happened after Jupiter in Scorpio in 2018, that oversensitizes. So this was the opposite movement, and which needed to happen for a lot of people. It's been good for some people. Some people, for example, with autoimmune diseases or nerve problems or neurological imbalances have actually really had a lot of healing through North Node in Taurus because it's actually desensitized that a little bit and made it kind of fix itself on its own in the background. So that's the positive, and there's still a lot of opportunity for that as well in the rest of this year. But by the middle of 2023, you want to really see that you have a more precise kind of enjoyment of the senses as well, by maybe delaying gratification a little bit, or also asking yourself questions about why certain impulses are happening or why certain needs are coming up. But I think that it's so fresh, and I think that by the end of the year, you're looking at a much fresher, meaningful opportunity. Okay, let's move on to Gemini. Okay, let me just write down your timestamp. Okay, Gemini, in the year of 2023, what I have written down for you is a funny little notation: all fun, all day, all for you. Okay, so we, at long last, have some fun and enjoyment for the sign of Gemini. We have come from the year of 2020 with a triple retrograde Capricorn conjunction, and then moved through 2021 and 2022 with Saturn-Uranus squares and a lot of heavy Jupiter, Neptune, and Pisces. That it's just not really Gemini's cup of tea. So we're having Mars retrograde in your sign coming out of the year of 2022, which has led to so much chaos for so many people, and it's really shaken things up in probably a very necessary way. I think it's important to know that people might be perceiving Gemini as quite obnoxious or quite chaotic coming out of the year of 2022. And I think that it's important for some Geminis to show up to previous situations or to show up to their workplace or to their lives in a slightly more mature way. Okay, there's a little bit of need for maturity here. There's a little bit of a need also for calmness and slower thoughts and speaking, slowing down the energy, calming it down, enjoying the length of the moment is very vital for Gemini, because it's been a very shaky mercurial energy, and it is naturally. As Mars went through your sign, though, that could have gotten really intense and really even weaponized, to where your communication style or your preferences as well maybe got really pushed in front of other people's faces or really dominated. Okay, so there's a need to kind of recede just a little bit in the beginning of 2023. What a great time for a well-timed sabbatical, any time in the first half of the year. Also, you've earned something and you've tried and received, so there's a feeling of a trophy or a degree or a victory of some kind being yours, and now you have a really nice maybe symbol of that as well. So getting recognized, getting honors in the year of 2023 is very likely. Also, if you've needed to apply for a program, or if you've needed to pursue something, it's very good this year because we come into the year with Mars retrograde in your sign. It goes direct. Having Mars direct in Gemini during all planets direct is so strong for like writing that essay that gets you into that program or communicating powerfully with people to get where you need to be. But really understand where things have been overdone, where things have been too difficult, and too also people that you've told too much to. So have you told people all your secrets? Have you told people all of your goals and wants as well? This is getting heavy in 2023, and there are other signs going through this too, like Sagittarius and Scorpio and Leos as well, who have like confided in people and now regret it, or who have thought that they trusted someone and realized that the tables have turned. That could be happening to you in 2023 too. So really identify it if the tables have turned, and don't keep over confiding, over trusting. There are these really exciting videos on YouTube lately and across social media about how people are starting to really enjoy their privacy more and starting to really enjoy the mystery of their own experience. And I think that that could be really good for you too. Honestly, for all of the signs, but for you, having had Mars in your sign, it means that you might have like, you don't even know that you've told people like something that you shouldn't have told them. And also, yeah, people are very jealous in the year of 2023. And envious. I was talking about that in the intuitive messages, and you could be experiencing that, like when people saw you really like go big or go home near the end of the year, or people saw you like achieve or get victory, or being celebrated, being elevated. You could be having a lot of like powerful prayer against you, or even psychic attack or things like that. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, because that will end up elevating you in the long term. But it is important to just understand if that's resonating for you. It doesn't mean it's happened. But if you know already coming to this video that something like that has happened, if people are like spreading bad rumors about you, because that's another just random outcome of Mars retrograde in Gemini, is mean gossip, weaponized communication, manipulation. And being that it was in your sign probably means that you have had a lot of that against you, and make sure that you're not doing that against anyone else either, but you've probably had that against you, and knowing that that will elevate you is a good way to cope with it. But also there's an importance, not just knowing that, but knowing why it happened, what led to it, and what we can do in the future to not find ourselves there again. So bragging, boasting, arrogance, anything like that, we really have to see. And also obstinance or petulance, or those types of traits as well. I'm not just talking about you. No, of course not. But I'm talking about like if you've had that in your life, like if you've dealt with obstinate people, or if you also have had something in your life that you're unwavering on, that can also lead to it, because, you know, you're a mutable sign and you're meant to kind of like adapt more. So you want to see if you can achieve more adaptable paths forward now that you have achieved as much as you have in 2022. It's a very attractive year for you. It's a wonderful year to up your appearance or to make your life more beautiful. Venus-Mars conjunctions in Leo towards the summer months will give you so much nice accolades, compliments, and nice experiences with other people. That's beautiful. Also, Libra season, Taurus season, both of the Venus seasons are very good for you, making really nice angles. And as you are also getting Mars in your opposite sign by the end of the year as well, Mars in Sagittarius, as it moves from Leo, once it hits Leo in the summer and then moves to Sagittarius by the end of the year, you get this like double fire energy that is so good for Gemini as a mutable air sign. So what that might mean is that you have basically an abundance of power, or an abundance of push, an abundance of also I don't know, just your communication is powerful. The power of your words. Don't underestimate the power of your words. Don't underestimate the power of your writing either, or any form of communication, because you can really change people's minds. And that's something that has to really be wielded with responsibility. So try to not lose control of that, and really watch out for temper tantrums, anger, and losing control of that energy, because then it could like really dissipate very quickly. But if you can hold it and maintain it, it will continue to elevate you. So beautiful year. Keep it fresh, keep it light, have fun. Okay, do something fun. Have nice parties, stay safe. Keep it, of course, non-addicted and not too acidic either. It's very acidic kind of energy as well. So you might want to watch the diet and keep that really alkaline. But again, I had written down all fun, all day, all for you. So you're getting a lot back here, and you're getting, again, those rewards. And also it's likely to be given enjoyable things. So being given gifts, being given congratulations and such. So congratulations, Gemini. Let's move on. Let's talk about Cancer in the year of 2023. Okay, Cancers, what I have written down for you is shining opportunities open for embrace. So there's something that really glows and something that is really shining, just kind of waiting for you to embrace it. So we have the main question this year coming up for you of like, what do I need to relinquish or let go of in order to be free enough, in order to be well enough and healthy enough to embrace what is distant but still open for me. I think that it's going to be very relieving this year for you as Pluto leaves your opposite sign of Capricorn, though it does retrograde back into it. Also, we're really getting some time from when there was the big triple conjunction in 2020. So I think that there's a lot of healing taking place, and I think that you also are really well done. Okay, there's something that has been really well done in the Cancer energy, and it took maybe a long time for this to forge or a long time for this to be cultivated, but I think that it is cultivated. So there's a feeling of like now having arrived or preparing to arrive, and it's a different way of working with the world. So it's not about striving so much now. It's not about reaching so hard. It's more about accepting the gravity of this experience and accepting also the natural abundance that you have. So watch out for pushing too hard to achieve results. Watch out for associating labor with results as well. I feel like there's a big change in work ethic and a change in ethic in general. We actually have a lot of really nice transits for ease and simplicity coming in for Cancer. So we have Jupiter and Taurus right at the later part of the year. Most of the signs, I think, are having a nicer experience in the first half, but I think the second half of the year could be even better for Cancers because as Jupiter starts to move through Taurus, also as Saturn starts to move through Pisces, you have a lot of really nice sextile and trine energy coming in. So it's a really important time for Cancers to receive now, really changing the direction that your energy is facing, not having to reach so hard. As I was saying, not having to strive so hard is important in 2023. As it's possible there could be a bit of burnout, or there could be a bit of even like a wear and tear or strain coming from the previous years. And also, I think this is really poignant, being able now to relieve energy knots or things that have been really misplaced. So for some Cancers, yes, there is a call in 2023 to have that apology, to issue that apology, or to receive an apology from another person to relinquish or untie a certain energetic knot. This can also happen in symbolic ways, and that's indicated with Saturn in Pisces, especially if you are a younger Cancer or a Cancer that is more towards the Gemini cusp. It's very possible that you have to almost like symbolically untie something or place yourself differently. So what does that mean? What does that look like? It seems very hard or problematic to just like repress things, or to just pretend that things didn't happen, or to just move away from things and totally like eclipse out of certain really heavy gravitational life experiences. So themes of abandonment, right? Themes of also like just throwing the hands up or walking away are coming back up in 2023 to see from a different point of view. It doesn't necessarily mean re-entering old circumstances, though it could for some Cancers. I do feel it means understanding how to not cause so much chaos in the future, or understanding how to not let things go so far, so chaotically, so clinging, right? Attachments versus abandonment. When do you grasp on? When do you let go? All of those ethics and sort of deeper spiritual principles could see reworking or symbolic closure in the year of 2023. Also, safety. Okay, so Pluto is retrograding on the cusp of Aquarius and Capricorn. So especially for Cancers who are closer to the Leo cusp, okay, you do need safety with Pluto being opposite you. So really overwhelming or even like toxic or trauma-centric people could be very easily coming into your life, and you have to have strong boundaries. But it's more like intelligent boundaries, because there could be, with Neptune also trining you at the same time, there could be a misplacement. Like, I think that this is a toxic person and that isn't a toxic person. Or I think that that relationship was traumatic and now this one is not. Or vice versa. Like, very careful with like labeling of like what is or is not like a safe or unsafe person. You need to like really maybe get third party review, or you need to also just be careful about impulses relating to attachment, relating to also like forming very deep relationships. Always when you have Pluto opposite the sun, you want to make sure that you know who you're involved with, and you want to also be wary about you know how some people will like see a red flag, or they'll see something that's a problem and they'll just like turn away and be like, I didn't see that. That's not happening. I can't accept that that's happening. That could be happening to Cancers. Make sure you're allowing yourself to see the truth, okay? And really watch out for narratives that just support certain impulses. So I have an addiction and I won't see it as that because it gives me comfort. Or I did something bad to somebody, or someone did something bad to me, but I can't see it as a bad thing because I moved more towards something comfortable after that, therefore it wasn't bad and I don't know it to be that way. These sort of like coping narratives, coping mechanisms of our own sort of like shell, right? Creating your own shell through a certain, sometimes unreal narrative is very important to see for all the water signs in 2023. Like, this is so big. Also for Pisces and Scorpio, because Saturn coming through Pisces indicates a setting straight of a narrative. So fictions can really fall through, and what did we choose? Who did we choose? Who did we not choose? Who did we stay with? Who did we move away from? All of that becomes very real, and the karmas, the unfoldings, the way that that snowballs or moves is something that I think that most Cancers or people with Cancer placements have to see. And then that sort of introduces you to your own power, or the power of your own mind, or the power of your own methods of generating really narrative. It's really about narrative, and it's about setting certain stories to your own life and seeing the depth of momentum that can generate. And then we have September 2023 through like December of 2023, which I feel to be a complete, almost like a rebranding, refocusing, re-identification process for you. So kind of a more solid timeline coming in for Cancer in 2023. You have like this January to August 2023, which is like understanding momentum and understanding a little bit more, what do I want to say? Understanding more, almost microscopically, the way that energy moves around you and the way that you have power over that, and the way that you actually maybe have controlled so thoroughly the environment around you will probably be like striking in the first part of this year, because there might be a lot of Cancers and a lot of water signs in general who are like, I have not had control over my environment. I've just been going with the flow. I've been like going through a crazy chain of events. And then there's like this realization point, and I'm getting chills, where it's like, I have totally controlled all of this. I have hyper controlled all of this. And I've been like telling myself this story that I'm out of control. And there we have like a major, like, whoa, Saturn in Pisces, like, realization point where we're like, oh my gosh, I have unknowingly participated in a self-fulfilling prophecy of absolute anguish in my life. That's not going to resonate for everyone. That's not for everyone, but see that if you're there. I've participated in a self-fulfilling prophecy that has me in a terrible relationship. I've participated in a self-fulfilling prophecy that has me insulated away from the true dream that I want. This is very Saturn in Pisces, and every water sign needs to be thinking about this stuff. If it doesn't resonate, that's great. Please don't like make something resonate that doesn't resonate. But self-fulfilling prophecies are very important to see, as are certain like narratives or personal realities or environments that we've convinced ourselves are disempowering as a certain thing that we chose for ourselves, and understanding that it's not like a victimization process, or it's not even really a natural chain of events. It's a totally self-prescribed chain of events for some people. And when we realize that, we then have like a great amount of facility to make it better, or to make it more what we want. And I think that by September of 2023, Cancers, you're looking at a totally different way of self-empowering, and you're also looking at much more capability to elect or choose what you want for your life, and to also not participate anymore with these self-disempowering dialogues about other people being like against you. Also really watch out for like thinking people are against you. Ooh, that's a big thing, Cancer. I'm so proud that's come through. They might have been. I think that everybody can experience antagonism, especially coming out of 2022. There were some very antagonistic transits. But it's important to not, again, make that a self-fulfilling prophecy, okay? We want, like, okay, so, and bringing this down more mundane, we're talking very, like, psychological and high-level energetic stuff. Try to, what's the word? I was about to say try to kind of, like, dull down some of these experiences, because I kind of feel you're in a very, like, sharp territory. And with the feeling of like antagonism, or the feeling of other people maybe not really supporting you, if that's happening, it's very sharp and very like mean feeling. That's where I would really lean into the prosperity and abundance that you have. For some Cancers, yeah, with the Hermit card coming up as well this year as one of the main cards of 2023, kind of retreating a little bit. And I'm not saying to like engage in being like a recluse or isolation, but just getting into those beautiful like silk clothes, or just whatever material you love, working on journaling, working with the beauty of your inner home feels very therapeutic. And through that, allowing the antagonism, or allowing the traumatic people who were there in your life, or were still trying to kind of connect, to literally disengage by default. There's a big opportunity for wisdom this year, and for learning things that you never thought you could learn. Like you might, and that's where it's like dangerous to be kind of like a know-it-all, or it's dangerous to be like feeling too wise moving into 2023, because a lot of us, like all the water signs, but especially Cancer, by September through December of 2023, by that last quarter, it's like, I never thought I would understand stuff like this. I never thought that I would also have this kind of like easy income, or this kind of like abundance or prosperity. I have arrived, but also because of how I've arrived, I'm not really wanting to like go out and like push other people around, or insert myself into other like really egotistical things. It's a very kind of like, yes, kind of monastic energy, but it's not really that either, because it's more material, and it's not like out in the middle of nowhere with the plane of consciousness. It's very here, and it's very grounded, but it's very wise. That's something that Cancer can have later this year if they want, but it's very contingent on, this is hard, and it doesn't necessarily resonate for every Cancer, I know, but it is very contingent on being in a state of not knowing it all. Okay, and being in a state of being willing for maybe some things to have been wrong, or maybe for some people to have not been the right choices. Okay, because without that state, there's no change. There's no transformative energy. So if you're a Cancer moving into the year of 2023 wanting a change, you have to understand, if you can't like realize that any wrong choice has been made, or if you can't realize that any like person or connection to you right now is not right, nothing will change, because it's already perfect, right? Or that is how that would be if that narrative weren't broken. So broken narratives, Cancer. I know that this is a little bit of tough love with this reading, but I feel this for all the water signs. It's Pisces and Scorpio just as much as it is you. It's part of Saturn being in Pisces. It's also part of Pluto going into Aquarius. Broken narratives, okay, yeah, we have to understand how we've contributed to refusing to see the truth, and through that understanding and through putting ourselves there, we will get very wise, and we will learn, and that is one of the best things you can go through in life. I love that. As a fourth house Cancer person myself, that is very opportune for me this year, And it's just like, it's humbling to see that that's coming in, to understand that, yeah, some things haven't been correct and some things haven't been thought of in the right way. And now we get to really learn. So on the positive side, enjoy some like really nice, noble, like material safety and security this year. You're really up for that and you really deserve that. And I think it will take some of that to facilitate these ideas and understandings. So beautiful year for the small things as well, like that perfect cup of coffee, that perfect tea, those wonderful, comfortable garments, even things like calligraphy or writing or journaling, reading, understanding new ways of thinking is very opportune, definitely, because that Jupiter sextile coming into Taurus, as well as the Saturn trine in Pisces, is very nice for aha moments and realization. I love you all so much, okay? It's a bit of tough love, but it's also like celebratory. It's a celebratory kind of like, yes, we finally get the chance to understand this stuff. We're finally going to figure it out, okay? And we're going to get really comfortable and we're going to ascend and we're going to have like a lot of abundance through that. So it's a really great, nice way of elevating here. Okay, let's move on to Leo in the year of 2023. Okay, Leos, what I have written down for you is hold your vision and elevate, okay? So working on your focus is really important in 2023. It's such an elevating year for you, and it's very empowering. It's very attractive. It's very much sort of vesting you or clothing you with the exact kind of style or expression that you need. So if you've been having a confusion coming out of 2022, as is indicated by the quincunx from both Pluto and then Neptune and Jupiter, okay, creating a yod towards whatever you have in Leo, you would probably be feeling like almost like over-empowered or over-focused or overzealous maybe in your goals. So there could be hyper ambition coming out of 2022. There could also be like that feeling of ultimate cause that we were talking about a lot, having like ascended and culminated or come together in a way that you could have never anticipated. I think there are a lot of Leos out there right now who have like so many awesome options in front of them that it can almost be like analysis paralysis. And the year of 2023 is going to come in and get you together enough to really choose the right path forward. It's not going to be hard. Even by like April of 2023, I think that a lot of stuff has really become much easier. And I think that you have just sort of like a natural inclination to move the right direction very soon. That might not be the case as you're hearing this, because even like up towards like February and March is still pretty like erratic feeling to me. Until, yes, we really get Pluto moving onto your axis, and we get also Saturn out of Aquarius. Jupiter will move through Aries really quickly, as I was talking about, and that will be nothing but good for you. It's a wonderful year, Leo, for you to buckle down and get the body together. Okay, get the style together. It's not just for other people. It's not just for being like what society wants you to be, but it's for you. Okay, it's for feeling good in your body. It's for feeling good and healthy and sumptuous as you. Okay, so it's particularly difficult, I think, if Leos have come out of the year of 2022 maybe like unhappy or disembodied. Okay, so things that are disembodied in your life, that's going to be an important thing to look at as well. Have I been thinking so much or working so hard or putting out so much energy that I don't feel confident in how I'm expressing, or I don't feel like I'm up to date or prepared for things? Yes, there's an interesting way that these oncoming transits this year are really highlighting how prepared you are, how you can keep everything together, so being able to focus on everything in your life. There is, if I see any problem area, which there is not that much for you this year, it's in over-focusing certain things while other things totally like are left to decompose, basically. So pay attention to that. If you have anything in your life that's like that, where you do like maybe the perfect work, or you do like the perfect in your job career, but your house is like devastated and in terrible shape, or you have the perfect face of makeup on, or you have the perfect like hairstyle, but your relationship is like experiencing all kinds of like crazy turmoil. Okay, this is going to come to a certain like climax with Pluto and Aquarius, and you want to start to change things, or as I was saying in the beginning of the video, kind of shift up the balance sheet of your life to where you have like an overall alchemy that's better. So for some Leos, it's great to like have a little bit less money and then have like also a nice household. Okay, so where you have like nice income and nice household. Also, it's really nice to have like, yes, that wonderful appearance and wonderful outfit, clothing, hairstyle, while also having a nice relationship. The way the alchemy has been working for your sign for the last few years with Saturn opposing you, right? I think that it's been really volatile. And I think that there has been perfection in some areas and absolute chaos in others. This is also happening for the other fixed signs as well, and part of the Saturn-Uranus squares too. So 2023 is a lot about balancing it out. And for some people, it can be a little bit boring. Like, yeah, now I have like a solid income and a really nice house, and I'm like attractive, and I have like everything that I need, and I save, and I'm just kind of watching the accounts grow, and like my skin is really clear now, and I'm like thinking about what new furniture to put into my house, and I have like this new florist that I'm working with, and the most beautiful flowers you can ever imagine are now like all throughout my house. And I have like a garden now, or I have maybe I'm taking like flying lessons, or I'm doing like all this really, really perfect stuff for me. Where is the chaos now? That's where some people can be. Some Leos can be by the end of 2023. And isn't that awesome? I'm getting chills. Like, but are we afraid of like having things nice as Leos? I don't think that we need to be. I think that it's time. I think that we've been having like a good 7 or 8 years of chaos as Leos. And with Pluto hitting your axis, I think that you have the gravitation, the power, and the goals to like be enough, or to be enough like difficulty for you to just kind of like enjoy the ride, and to have like nicer things, and to have nicer people, nicer experiences in whatever capacity that you can. So it doesn't have to be like a storybook world, though for some of you it's definitely like that. It can also just come through by kind of having every sphere of your life somewhat together. And that's like real nobility. That's like real that's real Leonine solar energy, where nothing is without the sun, right? Nothing, you're ruled by the sun. So try to get more into the sun this year. Also, there's an importance of maybe watching sunrises, or watching your ruling body actually come in, okay? So pay attention to the solstices this year. Pay attention to the sunrises as well. How are you working with the time of day when you first wake up in the morning? I would say about 30 minutes after you wake up, that hour, okay? That hour is very important for you this year, because it's within that hour, Leos, 30 minutes after you're like out of bed and you're out of the bedroom. 30 minutes after that, that hour will change your life this year. It might be really important to think about what we're doing during that time. So if you're a Leo who's like in abject like terror, or you're like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, everything's like really good, but also really chaotic, we have got to be devoting that hour to thinking about how we're going to change things, how we're going to shift things around, and what we really want in our lives. So for most people in 2023, for most Leos, just knowing where you want to be next is the only thing you have to answer, okay? So that hour, 30 minutes after you wake up, is probably the best time to be journaling, writing, moving things around in a way that permits that for you. And anyone can have this, okay? Anyone can have this. Even if you go to work, like right after you wake up in the morning, what we can do is we can actually set that alarm for an hour and a half earlier, okay? And we can have this. I think that everybody needs this in the year of 2023, but especially Leos, because you're like particularly strong right now, with Saturn having just opposed you and now Pluto moving onto your axis. Oh my God, the amount of strength, the amount of willpower, the amount of gravitation that you are connected to is huge. So some of you might have like the goal now, or the abyss as well, or the also the antagonist, or the people who are like very jealous too, very likely to have envy And you also need security in this year, so a new security system for your house might be good. Not to freak you out or anything, but like making sure that you lock your car doors at night, okay? Making sure that you lock your house up, making sure that you don't leave money laying around and stuff like that. I do feel that with Pluto coming to your axis, you have to watch out for anything like theft, or you have to watch out for anything like leaving things out. And it's all about lifestyle. It's all about how we're putting ourselves out there as well. So not being certain places late at night, drunk or something would be really important too, because there is like a darkness, or there is something there relating to also the chaos that you've recently had. When you do things really perfectly in one area and let another area lapse, it births a certain darkness and chaos into life, and that's just the alchemy of it. So we do need to be putting time into making that right here this year, Leos. Also, the year of 2023 is very important to be working with your self-expression. We have a Venus-Mars conjunction in your sign towards the summer months, and this lasts for a long time. We also have Mars going through Sagittarius and Jupiter in Aries. We have sacred fire trine energy in the year of 2023. What a perfect year to be beautiful, attractive, dating for those of you that are single, if you're healthy enough to do it. If you're not, don't do it. But yeah, it's an important time for your confidence, okay? And also, I don't really think that it's a year for melting into the wall or kind of hiding away. The water signs might have to do that a little bit more this year. So if you're a fire water person, it is kind of like hard to understand what exactly to work with. Somehow you have to honor both sides of that. But yeah, if you're just like a fiery person, I think that it's time for those beautiful garments. I think that it's time for also networking and connecting, and you need a foundation to do it off of. Some of you can meet wonderful life partners in the year of 2023. Some of you can fall in love in 2023. Some of you can also be highly sought after, okay, with Venus-Mars conjunct in your sign, okay? It's very attractive, it's beautiful, it's confident, it's appealing. And therefore you need to also prepare yourself for a lot of offers, okay? Job offers, relationship offers, any type of offer you can imagine. So here we are back to like the central core of 2023, healthy pineal gland, healthy third eye, so that you can be a good decision maker, because especially around Libra season, okay? So like September and October of 2023, major decisions have to be made, okay? And probably even before then, probably even by like Aries season. But like the Aries Libra cusp also seems important this year, because of course we have the nodes moving there. So there's like a decision made, there's a gavel banging, there's like a finality also in 2023 surrounding all of this. So quitting a job, starting a job, quitting a relationship, starting a relationship, moving, has to all be done really tactfully. So we're coming out of that previous year cycle, Tiger year. So it's important to use a lot of that zest and a lot of that capability and actually launch, or actually, be capable of decision making. Very hard year for indecisive people. So if you are indecisive, or if you consider yourself to be, try to overcome that early on. Also, I would recommend being around like fiery masculine people this year for you, because I think that with and probably for all the signs, but especially for you with like all this fire energy coming in, you don't want to be so much around people who are like, just stop it, just like rest a little bit more, just like lay down, just also maybe do it at nighttime, or do it in more like a sophisticated ways. You kind of need to be like out there, like in the daylight, in the daytime, in the operating hours, and you need to be like kind of like reaching for what you want in a very direct way. So watch out for things being like indirect or roundabout or sidelined as well for this year. You want things to be more like specifically reached out for. But anyway, let's move on to Virgo in the year of 2023. Okay, Virgos, pretty quick, pretty brief for you this year. Honestly, you have arrived, kind of like Cancer. There's some really positive things coming in for you this year if you can open yourself up to it. It's also about narrative. Okay, so definitely check out the Cancer portion to understand a little bit more, because you're having some similar transits with the Jupiter in Taurus and the Saturn in Pisces, making basically the same angles for you as Cancer has. So there's a lot of similarity there. You need to reassess your narrative, and you need to reassess what your purpose in being certain places is. Also, there are going to be a lot of abundances and prosperity coming in at the same time, especially as Jupiter trines you, okay, from the sign of Taurus. You could get a huge pay raise. You could get a wonderful new material foundation as well. So like, you don't maybe have to worry about paying those bills as much anymore. You don't have to worry about having a comfortable home environment. But now, because you don't have those worries, what do you worry about now? There are going to be a lot of Virgos in 2023, especially like worrisome Virgos, like Virgos who need to like worry about things and find problems. A lot of them are going to be like, oh my God, I don't have anything to worry about. I don't have anything to worry about. What the heck do I do with myself? And there can be this kind of like frantic energy. So what we want to do instead is we want to acknowledge that there is a free and empty space that has come in that we can do whatever we want with. Okay. And this is like a wonderful revelation for Virgos to have. Like, oh my gosh, I don't have to like run around back and forth, buzzing around. I can actually deliberately fill space with whatever the heck I want. I actually see some Virgos like maybe even starting like astrology businesses, or doing even like going back to school for like, I don't know, something weird like psychology, or something about understanding and spending time with people, working in counseling, working in, it's almost like filling that space in a very kind of like teacher oriented way, or, life coaching or something where you might even be now so strong where you can fill space in that type of stance as well. So comment below if you're a Virgo moving into those types of fields, because I think that's interesting. But in order to do it, you do have to like, I think, have a period of time where you go from that sort of like frantic, scattered mercurial sixth house energy to just kind of like accepting that the free space is there. So implementing healing diets, implementing healing all across the board will be important, so that you're strong enough to really, I think, help other people. Virgo is being called to help others in the year of 2023. Or yes, it could be Virgo being called to be helped by others as well. So if you have some type of illness, or if you have something like that, it could go the other way. But I really feel most likely it's you being called to help others. It can even be through like charity, or it could be through something more traditional like that as well. Neptune is moving very late into the sign of Pisces on your axis. So you're getting very, very wise, okay, and very also empathetic and psychic, okay, also with Saturn moving onto your axis from the opposite sign of Pisces. Yes, working psychically, okay. It does not have to be your job. I can tell you it can be kind of a careful what you bite off, because then you have to like chew that, okay. But yeah, there is a high likelihood of using empathy somewhat in your career, okay? Even if it's as an accountant, you might be having like people coming in like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And you have to like almost help them in an empathetic way. And I'm going to like give that as a pretty stern prediction for Virgos. You're going to in some way have to incorporate empathy into your career. Or if you're in a non-empathetic career, or in a job, or in that type of Saturn environment, right, where there's like no empathy, there's no care, it's filled with like hate, or it's filled with some type of like even like sadistic energy, which is also possible when Saturn is in Pisces. Saturn in Pisces as an energy actually inhibits that kind of like mean, hateful, sadistic energy that often channels through Capricorn ruled places like career, corporatism, anything related to like money, finance, and status, okay? It quells that and it reorients the status quo. So that's happening, and I think Virgo will be maybe a vessel or a channel of that. So careful, Virgos. You have the power this year with Saturn opposing you I'm so excited for this. It's like making Virgo a catalyst of empathy, or a catalyst of like changing up the status quo. Understand that that's very powerful, and don't let it be an ego thing, okay? I mean, it can be very healing to the ego, actually. But you have a lot of power maybe in your workplace, or more so than you think that you do. Or you have a lot of power also to be self-employed, or to not even have to be reliant on those constructs too. It depends on which way you want to go with it. But there's an ability for you, with the power of your words, the power of your communication, to really change up hierarchies, or to change up power dynamics, okay? And you want to make sure that that's integrity-based, because it doesn't necessarily have to be, but if it's not, it won't last, is the thing. But one way or another, you want to just kind of like, I think, make sure that you're being a force for good, and really watch out for gossip, okay? The power of your words, the power of your throat chakra, the power with Jupiter and Taurus and Saturn and Pisces at the same time. The power of what you say is important, and also don't think that people don't see it for exactly what it is. So if you're a Virgo person, kind of like talking between the lines, or like also maybe thinking that this is where the energy is problematic, thinking that people don't know what you mean, or thinking that people can't tell that you're on a certain side, or can't tell that you're specifically gunning for a certain type of outcome, that could also wind up with a lot of like worry and turmoil, because of how powerful you've become, or because of how strong you now are. People will understand or hear through the grapevine if things aren't consolidated. What do I mean? So if you're telling one person one thing and another person another thing, both parties will know that you've said both things, because of how powerful your word is and how it spreads throughout the collective. So any type of duplicity or two-facedness would be very damaging, if not already, through 2023. So we want to really get things straight, right? And that's the challenge with Saturn and Pisces that I've been talking about for Cancer already, is like broken narratives and things not matching up, or things being fragmented, okay? It is just a part of the energy, and Saturn in Pisces is one of the most difficult parts of Saturn's transit for fragmentation and for broken narratives, or lies, or two-facedness, or anything like that. So if you are participating in any kind of like lie, for example, like cheating, or also like quote-unquote Game of Thrones, like playing politics, whether it in any context, you know, like families or anything like that, I would just renounce myself. Or I would make it very clear exactly what I want, and I wouldn't deviate at all from that. Because we have like a very deviational kind of energy with Saturn and Pisces that ultimately disempowers the entire situation, because it breaks things off. So it's like not as big, or not as consolidated. There are many ways this can be really positive, like for things that need to be kind of like fragmented, or things that need, the energy exists for a reason. But Virgo, as the opposing sign, will kind of be the catalyst for a lot of it. And it's important to really pray about it, I think. And I would really just make sure that things aren't amateur. Make sure that things also are sober. Okay, there are a lot of like crazy things that can be said in drunkenness. There are a lot of like anything that's unsober, like whether this is like alcohol or drugs, or even like power, okay? Anything that can be an unsobering force, I think has to be, like by January of 2023, really reined in. But also throughout the entire year, you might have kind of like a progression through like, okay, month by month, day by day, I'm getting more responsible with this. I'm understanding the duty connected to this power that I have, or I'm understanding that I believe it's the Bible that says, to whom a lot is given, a lot is expected. Okay, so Virgo is no longer in that place where they have nothing, therefore they can kind of just like run around doing whatever they want. Now there's, I feel for a lot of Virgos, either by now or throughout this year, a lot is given, so you have to understand what is now expected as well, which for some people can be like really overwhelming, but you know, there are a lot of perks. So you have a lot of perks. Try to not be too flashy or show it off too much. You have a very spiritual purpose as well with Saturn and Pisces. So for some Virgos, getting back into church or moving back more into your spiritual practice, even if that's just alone or solitary, would also be very important this year to offset some of the materialistic or Also, even like territorial issues I feel that you're dealing with right now. But overall, Virgo is very beautiful and very empowering for you. Okay, but also maybe highly full of contrast because it's just so different, such a different energy for Virgo to be in there. But I am excited to see what comes of it for you, and let me know how you're doing in the comments below. Let's move on. Okay, Libras, welcome. Thank you so much for checking out this 2023 year ahead forecast. All right, so what I have written down is precision brings excellence and elevation. So there's something in your energy that is really focusing, almost like a camera lens that's been like out of focus for a while. It suddenly comes into focus. And I think that this was also happening towards the end of 2022 for you. 2023 is kind of like your year. Okay, so we have the South Node moving into your sign in July, I believe it is. Also, I'm just animating my chart. I know that the Libra season for the year of 2023 is really potent. In fact, one of your sign is like one of the just your time of the year in 2023 has some very, very strong transits. Yeah, we're going to have Mars in Libra as well as the South Node. So Mars South Node conjunctions in Libra. And then also opposite, of course, Chiron in Aries. At the same time, we're going to be having, of course, Saturn moving into your in conjunct, your quincunx sign of Pisces, as well as Jupiter and Uranus being quincunx to you throughout the year in Taurus and Uranus in Taurus, of course. That won't be happening, both of those, until the second half of the year, though, after we get through June. So Yod to Libra energy, which is like the finger of God, right, in astrology. You will be having Yods, especially if you have like around like 24, 25 degree Libra sun. To the South Node, Uranus and Neptune, there will be a Yod forming to your sun if you had it at that degree. But the entire sign of Libra will be, of course, really highlighted. So let's talk about before that time and after that time. So like January and until like late August of 2023. Process of moving into focus. Okay, it's the process also of having like a bigger wingspan or having like the muscles of those wings. This is also for Scorpio, but having the muscle of those wings really getting strong. So understanding how energy generates, understanding the motions that it takes, the cycles, the repetition, the also the terms and conditions of like any industry. Okay, as a certain like force generator for your empowerment or for your elevation is going to be really vital leading up to the time of August 2023. I think that there is kind of like a pearl in the oyster kind of feeling for your sign coming in, building throughout the year. And what does it take to experience that? Like, what do you need to get in order? What do you need to change around in the balance sheet of your life? Which I've been recommending for many of the signs this year, because everyone can kind of experience this, actually. It's been such a chaotic and traumatic last decade, honestly, that a lot of people just deserve it at this point, honestly, to have like happiness and to worry less about things. Keep your worry in check. Okay, what are you worrying about? What's losing you sleep? What's keeping you up still in 2023? It might be like not really what you think it is, or it might also, like, a lot of people really love you and a lot of people really want to see you do well. Okay, so antagonism and thinking that other people are against you is also somewhat misplaced in the year of 2023. Like, people might just really respect and revere you, and that's why it's happening. You know, that's why what's happening or what you're worried about is happening, but it's maybe processed as more of an affront or more of an assailing kind of energy, when it's not. It's like a form of respect, or it's a form of like love, but that can get really strangled out or pushed away through certain like retaliatory instincts that are also misplaced in a year like 2023. So that's kind of like also what's happening. There's kind of like a militant energy, okay, with the Chiron in Aries opposite Mars moving through Libra and the South Node in Libra. That would, of course, make sense on the global stage and happening, but it's also very micro, okay? So people are kind of like wanting to be against each other for some reason. And I think Libra has like one of the main levers of control over like how much people are against each other. So very careful if you have any kind of like control in life over like families or over any types of like groups of people or anything. Very easily things can be turned against rather than together. And I think it's just important to think about what that means later, and what that means over like a legacy as well, like how people who were once perceived as peaceful people can completely lose that legacy or reputation as well through some of the actions in 2022 and 3. So it's important like to understand who we are, right? Are we peace seekers, or are we connected to violence? All right. That's very important. And Libra's like weighing this out, like peace and violence, and how we contribute to one or the other. And it is just important to understand that actions really are seen in 2023. And there are very likely to be like aspects of us as people, the way that the South Node and Mars and Chiron are connecting this year, that are maybe memorialized over what is done through this year. So we will, I think, and I'm just learning this through the Libra energy, I'm just kind of talking through this, a lot of us will be remembered through what we do in the year of 2023 and 2022. And it's a very strong legacy generating period of time. So try to not make it petty, okay? Not that Libra is typically a petty sign, though, I mean, it can be. But basically whatever orientation you take in the year of 2023 will become like your known orientation by other people. So if it is like in any way like petty or mean, or if it's like also seemingly like violent or crazy or disproportionate, asymmetrical to what you're dealing with, that will just be like the reputation that will be, okay? Also, though, it's not meaning that you need to just like sit and like not face what is facing you, but is it facing you? Okay, it's kind of hard to explain. It's like this, Scorpio is also going through this, Cancer is going through this. It's this feeling of like people being against or being against the grain, but it doesn't have to be this way. So are we wanting to experience that is my question. And I think Libra might be one of those signs that has to really soul search and balance out like, okay, is there a catharsis happening, or is this experience, or is this conflict becoming a greater channel for my own cathartic whim? And because of that, am I recreating a demand for it and making it more, and making the conflict more ingrained? So conflict intelligence, why people fight, why people fall apart, why people stand in opposition, is going to be a deep place of learning for the sign of Libra, with South Node conjunct Mars opposite Chiron happening in your sign. Becoming an expert on conflict, becoming an expert on opposition. How can you channel that in a healthier way without like adding more trauma and conflict to the mix is going to be one of the main things for a year. So it's a deep year for Libra. And I'll just let you guys navigate that in whatever way that you feel is authentic for you. But let's take it a little bit more mundane to finish up. Beauty and attractiveness and zest of life. Mars, Venus conjunct in Leo also earlier in the year. Before we get up to September, beautiful time for rest, rejuvenation, attractiveness, fun experiences for you that you can honestly have for the entire first half of the year. And honestly, if you're a Libra who's doing really well, by the time that August rolls around, a lot of these issues that you've been so worried about will just no longer be there. And people also understand, people are trying, Libra, people are trying. Okay, people are trying to adjust themselves, I feel, also to your standards. So that might also have already happened by then. And I think that there are a lot of people who really wish you well, and a lot of people who want you to do well, and a lot of people who want you to get stronger. And then there are like kind of like, as we hit September, a lot of people are seeing the judgment that you're coming to, but also that will solidify you and solidify your standing with a lot of people too. So September is kind of like a final base camp moment, and you've got to like really understand how you're angling and how you're standing with others, and also being careful about being a trauma magnet or a traumatized person magnet. With Mars South Node opposite Chiron, are broken people always coming to you? That could also be. So yeah, there's a question of like counseling or psychology or life coaching that Virgo is also in as well. Like these people can start to like set up practices or start to set up their own shop or set up their own space or their own areas for helping other people navigate their own problems, as well, with Chiron working with your energy the way that it is. So I wish you all luck, Libras. I think that this is very heavy, and I think that this is also very like fun this year. The main importance is to decide, do we want like a fun life, or do we want a, what's even the word, like a life oriented towards healing, I don't know, or towards helping other people with their own like gravitational or cathartic issues, because it's kind of hard to hold both of those at the same time, but not impossible, but hard and chaotic in a way. So it's about choosing what you want here and choosing a way forward, not based on the motivations of other people, but based just on you. So detaching from social media, detaching from other people, detaching from things that cloud up your motivations, I would think would also be very important this year. But it's really interesting energy for you all, and very much like important. Okay, high level importance, high level decisions also, especially in your season and moving up towards 2024. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed it, and let's move on to Scorpio for the year of 2023. Okay, Scorpio, welcome. Okay, we have somewhat of an alarm or a code red moment coming in here in the year of 2023. I don't know. I think that it's really awesome what you went through in 2022. I really think that you're working with a totally different soul essence here moving into the new year, especially of 2023. And you still have about half a year of South Node being in your sign and having the nodal axis connecting to you, meaning that this first half of 2023, like pretty much the entire year of 2022, is really vital for the sort of curve of your life. So the major goals that you're working towards, the main aspects of your energy output, are really being seen now. So if you're kind of like vacillating between doing like the big, huge, like crazy thing, or kind of pulling it back a little bit, having more understated experiences, it'll depend for each Scorpio, but it's just important to remember that you have kind of a lingering, incredible activation from the universe. So it's important to know how to use that. I feel like for most Scorpios, the beginning of 2023 is very much a proverbial, almost archetypal return to the drawing board or return to a planning stage, and almost like no other, or almost totally unprecedented. What I'm telling you basically is that this is actually one of the most perhaps powerful times in your life thus far, and it's really important that you have a nice, clear, realistic, zoomed out, and to some degree macrocosmic understanding of how to move forward. So understanding, almost like an engineer or like someone who can comprehend larger systems, what the overall alchemy or overall result is of many different moving parts of your life combined. So it's very important to be taking a combinative approach moving into 2023, and not, as Scorpios sometimes struggle with, getting stuck or hung up on small little details, small little formalities, or small little snags, okay? Small knots, small problems could be very distracting in 2023, and it is important to know that the universe is really working with you in a way that is much larger than those. Nonetheless, you might have to work out a lot of small details, or you might have to change up just the way that you operate, or the way that your life is structured, especially if you've been having gut feelings coming out of 2022, like, I don't like that structure, I don't like that way of making money, I don't like that way of energizing myself, I don't like this, I don't think this is sustainable. It would probably take a lot of feelings like that in order to create such a powerful time of change. For you, scale is also going to be very important in the year of 2023. So scaling your experience, scaling your budget, scaling your anything you can imagine in life. So sizing, proportions, making sure all of that is in order. It could be like really big coming out of 2022. So there could be like a huge spending budget. There could be a huge idea or goal, or even a huge accomplishment for many Scorpios coming out of 2022. The way that the Jupiter-Neptune conjunctions, as well as having Pluto late in Capricorn, as well as having the South Node in your sign, and even the Saturn-Uranus squares of 2022 were so deeply concentrated and focused on the Scorpio energy line that all that pressure probably did create a few diamonds, and you actually probably have some incredible shiny things to show coming out of the year of 2022. So what that could also be causing is perhaps like jealousy or envy from other people. I talked about that in the overview section, that's actually something that's collective right now, but your sign could definitely be kind of at the center of that or going through something related to that. And this also has to do with scaling, and it has to do with sizing and apportionment, and also what you tell who and how you also make your own narrative, or how you explain or let people in on your planning or thinking process is probably up for a change in 2023. You might have like overtold or overshared. You might also have people who have maybe like volunteered you for something, and it can be anything. It could be being volunteered for a job. It could be being volunteered also as like the antagonist in another person's life, or even as like the hero of a different person's experience. The way that you're getting placed into other people's stories feels very, what do I want to say? It feels very concentrated and focused. And I don't really love to see that, because it makes you very thought about, or people might be really focused on you. So there's also kind of like a fear of like narcissism, or a fear of then the Scorpio also thinking of like, oh my God, everybody's thinking about me, or I can't like make certain moves without other people judging or criticizing me. There's a kind of like political feeling there where it's like everything I do will be scrutinized, or nobody is going to not be paying attention to me, which yes, does kind of evoke a worrisome feeling, and it's not really what Scorpio is for. This is a very kind of Leo 9 energy. So you might want to think about why that's happened, and also how you can make it differently scaled. I'm not saying to go smaller. I'm not saying to make it less attractive, but the way that you recount your victories, the way that you display your accomplishments, the way that you also involve other people in your plans forward is an important area of focus, especially for the very beginning of 2023. And it's all kind of a lesson in alchemy, because the way that you're doing all of this, the way that you're contacting other people, the way that you're just collaborating basically, and connecting also likely in 2023 with people you've had problems with before. You could have exes reaching out. You could also be working with, or having to communicate with, or mend fences with, extend olive branches to troublesome people. You don't have to do that, but that could come up in 2023, especially as your ruling planet of Pluto is changing signs. Very rare for Scorpio's ruling planet of Pluto to change signs. We have in March of 2023 Pluto moving into Aquarius, which is probably somewhat of a rebranding for you. Your personal brand could be changing. Your status could be changing. Something that's happening to Sagittarius this year, for example, which is, I think, also happening to Scorpio, is kind of a second chance, or re-entering society in a different way, or stepping back into a certain group of people with a different kind of expression. And that could also be in 2024, but it's a greater momentum happening where people have this chance to kind of reorient themselves to a past setting, which is why it is important to be thinking about what impact am I having on people? What do other people want to see from me? Am I in a sustainable community? Am I also getting hung up on unnecessary things? So as you guys knew from the overview portion, I talked about the all planets direct phase happening from January to April of 2023. It's a very important time in a Scorpio's life. Anything that has like died out in your experience, anything that has ended or even been taken or changed or shifted, if you've had some kind of major accomplishment or loss, either way, that period of time, that 4-month period, is a vital time. Reorient your placement on the board, or on the, chessboard of life, or whatever it is. Because even by like the end of April or into May, there is a feeling of, okay, this is what I chose, here I am, this is what I have, and it has a certain narrowing or reduction, okay? Especially by the time of July, okay? It's important for Scorpios to be wanting that, to be wanting a certain, like, okay, let's par this down a little bit, let's make this a little bit easier, let's have a bit more comfort. Jupiter will move to oppose you in July, Uranus will be retrograding, opposing you later in the year as well. And to combine all that together, you know, your ruling planet of Pluto changing sign, the nodal axis moving off of your sign, Jupiter opposing you, Uranus opposing you. It's very epic, okay? And then, I mean, even Saturn as well, moving to trine you from Pisces. This is very epic, bright, shining energy. And because of that, it can attract a lot of attention. Be careful about attracting the wrong kind of attention, okay? When there's so much light and so much brightness, it draws a lot that direction. So protective measures, better aura, also good security in your car, in your house, in your computer, not going certain places that aren't safe, okay? There is a security challenge potentially for Scorpio because of how good you have angled certain things, and because of your, like, I don't know, mastery and alchemy for some Scorpios, that will really be shocking and hard for other people to cope from. And I think even by like halfway through the year, like, it's not that big of a deal. Now, I'm not meaning to like make Scorpios like worried about the thoughts of other people, because it's not that big of a deal, and you don't want to get into like a too negative of an energy there, because we can't live our lives based on other people. But there are real repercussions as we move into a more community-focused energy line as well, which has actually already been here since Saturn in Aquarius. It is harder to do things without support. So I think another important thing for Scorpio in 2023 would be allowing themselves to communicate and collaborate more with people who support them, more people with similar worldviews, more people with similar ideas about the world, because a sort of like solitary Scorpio is just that, you know, it's not bad. It's important for many Scorpios to go through that as well. But the way that the power is coming through your sign, or the way that all the outer planets are connecting to you this year, does mean that you might probably transcend also the solitary nature of your life, or there might be more people even like wanting you to be certain places. So you might have people who are hoping you'll approach them and ask for a job, or ask for a recommendation, or ask for anything like that as well. But and then they're kind of like, oh, they never, reached out. So you don't want to just turn off this year or the next. I understand there are also some Scorpios, though, who are absolutely like on their last leg after the Saturn-Uranus squares. So in that way, it can be a good time for a sabbatical this year, or for a very well-planned vacation. But you also don't want to lose the rhythmic, cyclical generation of life force energy that you have been gaining and methodically kind of weaving into your life, I want to say. You don't want to just put a stop on that either, because that is what is really building you up. But yeah, try to lighten things up, reduce things down a little bit. For many Scorpios, it's okay to make a little bit less money here. It's okay to also like make way more too. It can change or vacillate, and you might be surprised that as you kind of simplify things a little bit, you actually open up to a lot more there. But if you are seeing like less results in the bank account, or even less social results as well, I think that that's okay in 2023, as long as you have some type of disciplined, cyclic, methodical thing that you're working on for you at the same time. Basically, we don't want a huge void, okay? After we've come out of Jupiter, Neptune, and Pisces, we don't want to just be left with a huge void. We want to pinpoint something more specific and allow ourselves to kind of cyclically work on it in balance, in probably a more reduced way than we experienced in 2022. And it's important by like the second half of the year, so like August and September, once the nodes are completely out of your sign, it's important to not have maybe any of the same things that were really nagging at you in 2021 and 2022. Those like never-ending questions, those chaotic unknowns, those feelings of conviction, overworking, feeling like your future is determined by some distant person in your life. all of that should be seeing kind of a distance. And you should kind of be left with just a much more evolved understanding of how the world works, and also how no one's out to get you, or no one's out to prevent you from going anywhere. But at the same time, we don't want to contribute to anything or express in a way that also makes that happen either, or leads people to just kind of be against us. Okay, so what I'm saying in a more mundane term is it might be nice also to play things down a little bit, or work with things that are less consequential. Not completely, because Scorpio needs consequential things in their lives, but having more hobbies, or having more time also to honor your ancestors or to participate in your faith or spirituality seems important in 2023 to offset some of the heaviness of the previous year. By your time of the year 2023, this is a totally transformed Scorpio that we're looking at, and this is a totally different lifestyle as well. And it's probably not as encumbered as you ever thought it would be, or it's not as held back by other people, or you've done it, you've arrived, and you are also not willing to sell out or compromise as much anymore. There's this kind of steel anchor inside that I feel by the end of the year that is also not too stubborn or not too crazy either. It's kind of knowing your values, but also being open to new experiences, having a greater sense of protection, but also not being closed off to what is being opportune in the future as well. And finally, Scorpios, it's important for you in this year to leave those old traumas behind, and also to understand that people who came against you before, or people who even tried to cause you harm before, have failed, or will never be able to really have that same hold over you anymore. So yes, any form of previous psychic attack, any form of previous anger or manipulation that was against you, especially from the long-running past, is totally over now. And even if it's not for the other people, it is no longer connectable by them. So that's a large new expanse of freedom coming in, and also some guarantee, I think, of positive karma, at least from the longer-running past. So the real key to you thriving more is to support that, and to not also hold grudges, or to not keep yourself held back in the past either, and to open to new possibilities. And for some of you, yes, taking that conventional thing to the next level is very interesting to consider. But you want to also have a diversified life experience as well. So, but yeah, it's kind of coming from all directions, Scorpio, with all these outer planets connecting to you. There is a lot of different things you can connect onto here. I don't think that any of that old fear of, oh my God, what's my life coming to? What the heck do I do with myself? I don't think that that's here at all, despite you maybe having more time and freedom. So beautiful year of 2023 for Scorpio. Is there anything else that I need to say for them? Just scale your life in a way that honors who you are and what you've done. Don't sell out for people. Don't have false ideas also about what certain careers or money generation can get you. There might be a money wound coming out of the North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio, and Saturn in Pisces is also possible for that as well. So try to not let money rule your life so much, and really just give some love back to you. And that's going to be from a financial perspective, an emotional perspective, and the generation of a new perspective that deals more with the present moment rather than the past or future as well. Okay, let's move on. Sagittarius in the year of 2023. Okay, welcome Sagittarius, 2023 year ahead. What the heck is going on here? Okay, this is a crazy energy that we're dealing with coming out of Jupiter in Pisces, Jupiter moving into your fellow fire sign of Aries, and Saturn moving into the traditionally Jupiter-ruled sign of Pisces. Lots of kind of catch 2022s coming up for Sagittarius. So on one hand, pursuing a more conventional path, yet having a super strange or ethereal spiritual experience through that. On the other hand, pursuing a very unconventional path, yet having a very kind of status quo income because of it, or a very kind of like predictable and strange kind of like absolutely normal life because of an unconventional path. Yes, this is part of coming out of 2022 with Mars retrograde in Gemini and Mars moving direct in Gemini. You have like basically a transcending of extremes. So regardless of what you pursue, regardless of how you're moving forward in 2023, you kind of get a little bit of everything. So basically that should be very comforting for you, as I feel that a lot of Sagittarians were coming out of the year of 2022 like, oh my God, I can't decide how I want to place myself. There was a lot of indecision in the Sagittarius archetype for the year of 2022, and kind of like putting one foot in front of the other and thinking, okay, I'll figure this out eventually. And yeah, you've got to make some level of choice in this oncoming year. So what are you dreaming of? Saturn moving into Pisces, Jupiter moving all the way through Aries. You have basically a connection to a very old way of doing things and a completely new, completely innovative way. Which do you choose? How do we pick? What do we do? It's still here, even after all these years, even ever since 2020, we still have this old world, new world conflict. And I think that Sagittarius is one of the signs that's really teaching us how to work with both of those and how to just like be in a transitional place like this. So it makes it hard, I think, to relate to other people when you have such a kind of like eclectic or eccentric energy. So can you find more people like this? Can you kind of open yourself up to new people who might be in a similar place so that you have more support, more team orientation? That seems very positive for the year ahead. Also, I feel that you have some kind of like internal treasure here. So there's something about the mindset that you've adapted, or the energetic understanding that you have of how you like go about certain paths, that is absolutely a treasure coming out of 2022. And it's hard for me to really articulate and explain this, because it's almost like a visualization process or a like meditative state or something that I feel Sagittarians have not even quite realized that they have, that basically is like a superpower, or it's not. I mean, everybody has this, but you've really maybe honed some type of self-supportive energy line, or some kind of like rallying mantra for the self. And this can do pretty much anything for you. So it's kind of like really good work ethic meets really healthy, really versatile mindset and motivational grid. And it's really like limitless. So coming out of 2022 with a limitless feeling, knowing that you can almost do anything that you want, or achieve any goal that you set for yourself. What goal do you set for yourself as a Sagittarius? That's really the question of 2023. And I think throughout the first 2 quarters, it's about more foundational concerns. So what's your transportation like? What's your house like? Do you have a foundation that can totally be like a stronghold or a sort of center point for you? That could be very positive to think about, because since things have gotten so in the mind or so energetic, you might have like had I can only imagine that for things to be like this sweet on the inside, there must be some like weird things going on the outside and in the real world. So you might be like scattered, or you might have things that have like broken down or disintegrated in some way in your physical life, which I actually feel, yes, for many Sagittarians, that is the case. So you have to maybe make a more cohesive physical environment for yourself, and then start like globetrotting, I don't know, or then do that next degree, or do that new business, or whatever it is that you're wanting to do, because the question is not those things, though. Those things are already here for you if you want them. Those things are totally like those doors, like you have the keys to all those doors as it already is. So 2023 is not really about figuring out, what can I do with my life? For Sagittarius, it's more about starting to really embody these mindsets and making them manifest more for you. So rather than making sure that also you're not escaping, or that you're not engaging in escapism with Saturn and Pisces, to kind of like make you somewhat okay with real physical reality that's not really for you or not really right. It seems you might also need more assistance as well. So if you're a business person, you might need to hire more. Also, if you're not a business person, you might need to like hire more, or you might need to have more people helping you. Because I think that a lot of energy might be kind of being like squandered through kind of like disorganized daily routines. Very possible with the Saturn going mutable in Pisces, as well as the fire trine as well this year. So we have a very kind of like fiery year of 2023. Jupiter in Aries, Venus, Mars in Leo, and then Mars will move up to be in your sign of Sagittarius by the end of the year. So whereas a lot of the other signs kind of struggle towards the end of 2023, if they're not careful, Sagittarius actually has a Mars return to the sun, if you're a sun in Sagittarius. And it's going to be like a huge dose of energy that you get regardless of what you've done by the end of 2023. So you want to be ready to like work with that energy, and you want to be ready to like know how to harness that and wield that. So moving through the entire year of 2023, it's going to be like that. Like, how do I prepare myself for what I know is coming? For some people, that's like, okay, I know that I'm about to move, or I know that I'm about to go on a trip, or I know that I'm about to embark a majorly huge goal. What does that mean for me like 8 months before that? Like, what does someone do 8 months before they like tour the world? What does someone do for the 8 months leading up to like, I don't know, some huge campaign or something for their business? Okay. What is that time like? Is the majority of 2023 for you? So that could be like getting a really good diet. That could be working on your mind, body, and spirit. That could be, keeping things easy and not spending all your energy leading up to that. Pulling certain things back. And that's a big quest and test for Sagittarius, is like this sign struggles more than any other sign to omit or to reduce or to stop things. So stopping certain foods, stopping certain jobs, even. Some Sagittarius, it's like an entire job has to end in order for you to really step into this next thing, or you have to have a totally different lifestyle around it. You can really play with this, and make it what you want it to be. But honestly, even by like November of 2023, you've got to be spending energy on the next level or the next part of you. And there's a feeling of like a second chance, right? I think that I was talking about this in Scorpio's reading as well. Like you're being given some kind of second chance or third or fourth chance here in 2023. And you might be like re-entering a previous society, or you might be re-entering a previous industry or network with a different kind of goal or a different kind of standing. So second impressions, interesting. Going back somewhere to achieve something new. Weird. Okay, sure, you can do that, and that seems very stylish for you, but also, how is your faith adapting, and how is your spirituality changing to support these second chances or these new ways of moving forward for you? Pluto moving into Aquarius also is nothing but good for you. More gravitation, more generational energy as well, though it does retrograde back, of course. But you're getting closer and closer to your time, Sagittarius. Don't squander energy, okay? Don't squander money, don't squander resources. And think about the sort of like central goal or central life that you're wanting beyond like small daily impulses, okay? But yes, also enjoy yourself. I feel that sabbaticals, vacations, travels that are like giving you time to like let your mind heal and let your body heal as well from a very difficult few years leading up to this would also be good, especially before September. So thank you, Sagittarius. I'm going to conclude for you there. Beautiful year ahead for you. Let's move on to Capricorn. Okay, Capricorn in the year of 2023. So really interesting year for you. We have Pluto moving out of your sign into Aquarius and retrograding back into your sign. So Pluto retrogrades on the cusp of your sign. You've had it there since the year 2008. So there will be a need to understand the greater meaning of the chapter of 2008 to 2023. What sources of power, energy, strength have you found during this period, and what do you have to show for this period of time, this greater period of time, as it can, for the most part, do anything for you, It kind of depends on what each individual Capricorn has been working toward over this last like a 15-year period, basically. But here you can totally transform everything. Okay, so year of 2023, you can have amends here. You can be apologized to. You can change your relationship with anybody if you've had a traumatic relationship. Very easy to get closure in 2023. And it's also likely to have like a big change, like for some Capricorns, like a retirement. For other Capricorns who are younger, like, or age doesn't really play into it actually, but like the change of industry or the change of location or the change of a partnership as well is likely, because of course Pluto in astrology is a generational planet, but it's also about the biggest goal or the main power generator in our lives. For some people, that's their career. For some, that's family. And it just depends on the person. But you could see a change there, like a total switch up, or a total also change in religion for some Capricorns, or a change in like affiliation as well. A change in worldview could be pending right now. I would think it would also be important to see through certain dogmas or certain weird power trips as well. So was there a way that you have had to like experience a power trip? Was there a way that you have had a lot of control? Because Pluto being in your sign is a huge indicator of control. How have you controlled the trajectory of other people's lives? How have you also been controlled, whether people succeeded or failed? All of that seems important to understand in the larger scheme, larger narrative of your life, so that you can basically know how to move forward here. For some Capricorns, because Pluto is particularly sharp in Capricorn, it's particularly extremely powerful in Capricorn, it does likely mean that there's been some things that are not great, or some traumas, or some really hard situations that now have to conclude, or now also it's likely that the power dynamics have changed. So where the oppressed person is no longer there, or where the person that one has once had control over is now in a much more powerful place. So seeing like a change in role or a change in hierarchy is very likely here. And also you can be up for a promotion as well. So you might be in the boss position now instead of in the employee position, and it can go the other way as well. So basically a shift or a transformation in hierarchy, and also it's very possible, if you've done well over the last 15 years with Pluto and Capricorn, to have like retirement now, or to have like a total freedom if you've done well. If not, it can like be the opposite as well, and there can be like a very small amount of places that you can go at this point in time, or changes that can be made. However, if you feel discomfort, or if you feel that there is something like really tight, or really shackling you down, just by changing your mindset, and also by like freeing other people, or acknowledging that other people have like their own autonomies, and also their own philosophies, as that feels very important too. Careful about projecting your own philosophy, or something that Capricorns can struggle with is like not understanding why another person would make different decisions than them, not maybe also understanding that their own ideas or their own projections about a certain like industry or a certain like group of people are not necessarily universal, but are personal. So the need to be able to distinguish between that which is universal and what is personal will be a great way to have more freedom moving out of Pluto and Capricorn. Because it can be quite, honestly, like oppressive heat, okay, with Pluto and Capricorn, the energy. It's like been very existential for a lot of people. And I'll make a devoted video about Pluto moving into Aquarius. But as a Capricorn person, if you've experienced that, I think there's a lot of liberation coming here. And also, I think that it's important to understand, or to think about, or to for some Capricorns even have or experience like repentance here can be very empowering, or just like the really like allowance to other people to determine their own ideas or their own ways of life. So the control freak is really struggling in 2023 because there are ways that things are alchemizing in this year ahead that simply cannot be controlled and simply cannot really be predicted for. So all that conventional, traditional control repetition-oriented economizing and grasping at some measure of comprehension based on previous forms of understanding is very debilitated and will not really go much further than 2023. So this is really the way that 2023 really favors people. It favors the types of people who are like willing to move forward into uncharted territory, people who are willing to try new things, people who are willing to adapt to new ways and not get stuck in like preconceived notions. However, since 2008, it was very positive to get into preconceived notions. It was very positive to work with those traditional materialistic situations. Now that will start to change though, and it won't be until 2024, I think, that we really feel it. But for Capricorns specifically, I think it's really, really vital to allow yourself also to experience something new, because it's not often that Capricorns get that chance, and you do have that chance for new worlds, new waves, new conditions, new places and experiences. However, the way that those conditions coexist with the current commitments is the question that you need to think about and probably solve. Can there be that coexistence? Or has your hold on certain commitments or certain narratives of others guaranteed a certain, or I want to say provided a certain guarantee for you for a while to come now as well? If you like that, that's great. And if you want to change that, you can. But there will be quite a long time of momentum coming. As Pluto has been in your sign, you have a lot of power, you have something to show for it, you have a lot of resources. How can you angle that in a way that gives you more and is also honoring of other people's experiences as well? Anyway, Capricorns, thank you. Let's move on. Aquarius in the year of 2023. Okay, hi Aquarius, it's your year. We have Saturn moving out of your sign and Pluto moving into it. What kind of world do you want to create? Because you may be in charge or coming to a greater feeling of control. Okay, basically what Capricorn has had will be starting to transfer over to you. And what opportunity there is when Pluto is at 0 degrees of your sign. Okay, if you know any Capricorns in your life, you can really learn from them because they've had it in their sign for the last 15 years. What have they done right? What have they done wrong? You can totally take from that and apply your own morals. This is a wonderful year for like Aesop's fables, for philosophizing, for understanding more about the different religions of the world, the different spiritualities, and also the different power dynamics that have existed in the world. To study in those areas would be so wonderful for any sign as Pluto goes right into their sign, because they need to understand the pitfalls of ego and the pitfalls of having some kind of power supply. Okay? Do we get drunk on our own supply of power, capability, ego? That will be very easy for your sign in the years to come. So try to really offset it. Okay? So nature walks, smaller things, downsizing even for you can be great this year. That feels so alchemical for Aquarius. It's like you have the opportunity to like go big with that like huge house or that huge lifestyle, and you actually condense more, and maybe there's like a nice forward motion that you get, and energy of like profit as well, energy of gaining more ground than you could have ever imagined by condensing with this highly concentrated Plutonian energy coming in for you this year. Okay, so the month of March 2023 is huge for you. Saturn leaves your sign and Pluto goes into it within the same week. So you, on one hand, conclude the very like materialistic real world lesson learning, and then you're given some type of really strong resource or asset or powerful connection. And the beginning, when that's new, 15 years from now, this is not going to be like this, but you have like a big test, I think, in the very beginning. And also a bit of leeway as well with how you're using the sort of gravitation of your life force energy. But don't squander it all. Okay, I feel especially for you, Aquarius, you might be very lucky to create new systems or new structures that can kind of give you a more temperate result okay, so that it spreads out more and so that you have more over the years to come. So for example, just as a hypothetical, you win the lottery, maybe here choose to space that out over like 30 years rather than taking the lump sum all at once, okay? That's like the energy that I'm feeling for your sign. So if you have any type of abundance or any type of lump, okay, of energy, Pluto, into your sign, try to spread this out and try to learn more through less. So watch out also for interventionist strategies. Like, I've got to get in there, I've got to insert myself here, I've got to be renowned or be awarded this or that there. It does really expand the ego. Okay, have Saturn and Pluto both are ego builders. So having both of those in your sign means that there's a lot there for you. And you want to get really smart and also downplay or downsize or understate things, I think, for now. Also, there's a freshness, okay, in the other parts of the zodiac. Mars moving from Gemini all the way to Sagittarius this year. Very nice for you, all of those signs almost, especially Mars in Gemini, Mars in Leo, Mars in Libra, and Mars in Sagittarius. It's going to kind of be like just wonderful little accolades or wonderful gems that you can just have at random intervals this year. Like, you don't think that anything else good could happen. All of a sudden, there's this nice, wonderful, fresh thing happening for you. Keyword is fresh. Keyword is also bloom as well. You're like blooming into a new way. Scorpio is as well. Libra is as well. There's a blooming. There is a growth of energy for you. There is a wonderful new communication pattern as well. So kind of like I was recommending for Cancer, it could be a really nice year to kind of simplify things down and really make your home life a lot better. Like wearing beautiful, comfortable garments, journaling, having nice things around you, having flowers in the house, blooming energy around you, and letting, this is like Scorpio as well, letting some of the chaotic, angry or jealous energy just kind of disseminate and die out through not like engaging it or watering it that much. What are you watering here? What are you providing energy to? Totally just in the mind or also physically. You have like, okay, this is kind of creepy and crazy, Aquarius, but when Pluto goes into your sign, you kind of have this superpower, okay? This is very like hypothetical, but the feeling, the energy is very much like, what I focus on grows or kind of gains more gravitation. So if you have like a fear of like enemies in your life or bad relationships, jealousy, hatred, or any of that really intense stuff, that would be very important this year to not focus on as much and to maybe step away from. So if you, problematic people, okay, thank God we're finally talking about it, Aquarius. I don't think we've gotten here in this video yet, but I think that it's prolific. Coming out of 2022, problematic people and people that are chaotic and you can't really tell how they feel about you. Two-facedness, duplicity, duality, very strong. Mars and Gemini coming out of 2022. You are one of the only people, Aquarius is probably the only sign this year that can present a solution for this. And I think this is where it's like such a wonderful thing to be an astrologer, because I can kind of see it from your perspective as I talk about it. You can kind of get the perspective of all the different signs. It's just about focusing less on it, and it's about understanding the power of focus and the power of like, okay, that person is saying one thing to my face and another thing behind my back, and I'm thinking about that at night. I'm not sure how to engage with this person. I don't understand what's going on, but I don't want to be mean in case like I'm not correct. I don't want to like close the door in this person's face, but I also don't want to invite like meanness or weirdness in the relationship. The solution is just kind of like respite and distance and letting things unravel or letting things solve themselves. What a superpower in 2023 to be able to like let things solve themselves by not having to focus so much. That's where the magic of Pluto and Aquarius is going to be as well, is in letting natural momentum come in. So one of the problems that we've had with Pluto and Capricorn is control freak tendencies, trying to get into everything, thinking that like oneself has like the right solution for everything. So like also at a sociological level, seeing people who want to intervene, seeing people who want to like prescribe or solve things and insert a lot of like unnatural energy into the ether. For you, I feel that you understand that it's just about kind of getting more hands off, or it's about letting things kind of fix themselves or cure themselves. And if they don't, and this is kind of where things get like, whoa to see. If they don't fix themselves, were they meant to be fixed? If the problem doesn't solve itself, was it meant to be solved? If like the person is still mean to you after you distance yourself or after you choose not to engage that, would they have ever been nice to you otherwise? You know, it's this kind of like simple alchemy that is a huge saving grace with Pluto and Aquarius. And you are kind of a representative of that. So try to maybe test this out a little bit, moving even like all the way through 2023. Can things solve themselves? Do we have to intervene? Do we have to be so pushy with things? Do we have to like try to manifest everything? Do we have to try to like push so hard to get results? Pluto and Capricorn would say yes. But I think that Pluto and Aquarius says no. So anyway, change in subject, Aquarius. I want to talk about a few different things for you because this is like really such a big year for you. So we have this kind of like timeline I've been talking about for some of the other signs, like January to August and then September to December. January to August is a great period of time for moving ahead. Okay, progressions, life progressions, changes in story, new chapters. You can really be like a leader at the forefront of that. Planning, having people help you, having an integrative or collaborative approach. But by the time we get to September, okay, we need to really see that we have a better foundation, better life to be working from. We also have Venus-Mars conjunct in the sign of Leo, which is going to be really nice for you. I think that it's indicated for some of you like a makeover or some, I'm not just talking like skin deep stuff here. I'm talking like real transformations and being healthy. So as you start allowing certain things to just work themselves out and not needing to intervene so extremely, you also at the same time may start to have like cell rejuvenation or have some type of like better health, or you may feel called to change your style or to really embody a new version of yourself. And I think that that's also an important thing for you this year. As Pluto hits 0 degree of your sign, you could have like a personal transformation or a lifestyle transformation. So that's going to be different for every person. But what do you feel called to there? Also, by the end of the year, with Saturn moving more strongly into your collective second house, there should also be a new kind of like monetary growth, or for some of you, it's a new job. It depends on your age, but your earnings will probably either increase or be like reduced to give you more later. So if you have a reduction in income, as Saturn in the second house can sometimes do that, try to see how it's giving you more later. Try to see how that was important to have, because I'm seeing a lot of people in the year of 2023 with like reduced income, weight, sadness, sorrow, anxiety. Everything can be reduced in the year of 2023. Now, not everything do we want to be reduced, but it is overall a year of reduction. So try to see how, you can benefit through reduction and try to get ahead of that. Anyway, that's about all I have for you. Happy year ahead. Wonderful year for Aquarius. Keep checking back to the channel for more information about you. Let's move on to our final sign of this Goliath video, over 3 hours long, Pisces, for the year ahead of 2023. Okay, Pisces, let's talk about you and how you have changed the entire way the world works in the year of 2022. Okay, we've had Jupiter and Neptune in your sign, conjunct at various intervals over 2022, and now we have Saturn in Pisces. Oh my gosh, it's unprecedented territory. It's totally, we also have like the minor asteroid of Nessus in your sign. This is high stakes stuff for a Pisces person, reclaiming their ancestry, reclaiming the momentum of their ancestry, reclaiming the material reality of their lives. So you are really the alchemist this year. You and Aquarius both kind of are. But yeah, you are liable this year to have a bit of a inquisitive energy around you. What is the purpose of this spiritual practice? What is the longer result of this career? What is the merit of this relationship? Every action that you make this year with Saturn moving into your sign, okay, will likely be questioned perhaps by authority or just by your conscience. Saturn in Pisces is a more transcendental kind of authority. This isn't really like the boss or the police officer or that type of thing. Though it can be that. I mean, Saturn can always be that stuff too. This is more like higher power, okay? So being questioned by a higher power, being questioned by God, okay? Being questioned also by like the weather. So like seeing the symbolic undertone of things. Okay, I have prepared a group gathering at a wonderful outdoors arena, and right when we all show up, a terrible storm comes through and it's like a tornado or something. So like maybe something about that wasn't right. Okay, so being able to see the symbolic meaning behind things, and that's just a random hypothetical example. But those kinds of higher powers, the weather, the also like the amount of money that you're making. Ooh, I hate to call that a higher power, but yes, it can be. Those are more symbolic ways I feel that authority can channel itself through. Also like taxing agencies, okay, with Saturn and Pisces. Yes, very true. Anything dealing with liquid assets can be restricted, reduced, or contrarily, hugely expanded, but then you have to be prepared to really work with it all as well. So it just depends on what natural momentum you have as a Pisces moving into this year. It will be highly important in the year of 2023 to have routine, okay? Saturn in Pisces, traditionally in like very old traditional astrology, is not a great placement. It's not technically debilitated in Pisces, but many of the old astrologers speak very difficultly about that placement. But I personally think that it can be quite advantageous, as it's very good for like problems just like slipping through the cracks, or for also, unconventional ways actually working in the conventional world. Also for art. Okay, so for those of you Pisces who are artists out there, you can really move forward, as we will be having, of course, Neptune-Saturn conjunctions eventually. I'm actually thinking that will not be until 2024, but that will be oncoming, which will be really nice for prolific art, for music, for any type of creative endeavor. So it will likely be very important to build up to that. So understanding that 2 to 5 year plan, I think, is really vital for a lot of Pisces people. Like, okay, so I'm doing this job now, I'm doing this relationship, I'm doing this lifestyle. What is the further down the road effect of that? Careful for super present oriented, like not understanding the long-term implications of what we're engaged in. As you can see some like conviction with things like that down the road, like, wow, I devoted 5 years to an all-consuming relationship and now I have no money, I have no job, I've lost like 4 years in my professional resume, and now like I don't feel like I fit into the normal world. That's very likely to be happening, and that's not bad for everybody. But you have to understand what that means for like your life as well. Like, okay, so we're not going a professional route, or we're not going a conventional route. That does perhaps mean some amount of like nomadic lifestyle, or some amount of like separatism or something like that. Although there are also growing like online communities and growing unconventional groups forming as well. But try to not get caught in that place where there's this like romanticization of whatever we don't have. Okay, so grass is greener on the other side. Now that we're doing the unconventional thing, we want that conventional path back, or vice versa. Now that we're doing the conventional thing, we want that unconventional path back. It's such a blessed and gifted time for loving what we currently have and for appreciating the consistent ways we're going to bat for ourselves. So Saturn in Pisces demands consistent spirituality, consistent contributions to what you love, to what you feel is giving to you something greater than just career, okay? So for some Pisces people, I think that you will also have a coming of age story in 2023. And this could happen anytime, but it could also be 2024 as well, or it's likely that the larger 2023 to 2025 period is a major coming of age story. And it's really wonderful for those of you with like Virgo placements or Taurus placements or Scorpio placements who can really get out ahead of the strategy and the planning that needs to take place to be strong this year. But yeah, like I was saying for Aquarius as well, you want to keep things fresh, okay? Saturn in Pisces can also be like an old moldy house or something, or some type of like stagnation, and you want to freshen that up, or you want to like just get those like professionals in there who can fix that. So what I love also for this placement is not wallowing or stagnating in problems, but like really choosing to fix things, because you can actually start to generate a momentum, I think, especially with Jupiter and Aries. And of course, we got to take the other placements into context. With Jupiter and Aries, and then the nodal axis that we're having in the latter half of 2023 of Aries and Libra, it's great for executive decisions. It's great for like fixing that problem and generating a momentum of like fixing and getting things better. With the Saturn in Pisces kind of in the background, just churning out a lot of like spiritual and incredible transformative energy, actually. I'm just now realizing how transformative Saturn can be in the sign of Pisces, but it can also be like eroding. It can be existential. It can be constantly inquisitive again as well. There's kind of also a turmoil with Saturn in Pisces, and there can be like a religious fanaticism as well. There can be people questioning morals or ethics or principles. It's kind of like a moral type of authority with Saturn in Pisces. So depending on what that is in your life, some people don't really deal with a moral authority, but then a lot of people in the world still do. So if you do live in a country, or if you're in a type of society that has a very strong moral authority, I would want to really think about that, and think about, because that, in the old world, of course, so before, honestly, like the 21st century, no, the 20th century, honestly, before about like the 1930s, the theme of moral authority was very strong, okay? Religious authorities, and then again, before like the 1800s, it was everything, okay? And then it kind of started to deplete from like the 1800s, where it hit around actually like the 1990s, its least version, and that's continued to kind of like decrescendo. But then 2020 hit, and we had the triple Capricorn conjunction, and it expanded big time again. So we do have a stronger sense of moral authority, actually, whether we realize that or not. Anyway, that's a bit of a tangent, but it's important to like orient yourself towards that and understand like how much am I participating with that, how much am I not. And then also, if you are in a part of the world that actually does still have that very strongly, you could be facing that more, or you could be also questioning to what degree do I need to be with this. And then some people might also want more of that as well with Saturn in Pisces. But yeah, whenever Saturn's in your sign, regardless of what sign it's in, it can also just be like a reduction. Okay, so you might have less money to operate off of, or you might not. You might also have like parental figures if you're younger, bearing down with Saturn in your sign. And also keep an eye on your health, because Saturn can be a bit constricting for the health as well. So it's just important to have very good habits and to be very responsible. And there's just a high likelihood of intervention in 2023 for you as well. If there is anything very unhealthy, you might need to do your own intervention, or as addiction and escapism is also ruled by the sign of Pisces. So Saturn there will actually decrease that. So Saturn tolerates addiction and escapism much less than other placements in Pisces. So we have to really get present. We have to really get sober, and we have to really understand the world that we're with. Saturn in Pisces is realistic. It is very preferring of, working towards idealism, working towards greater ideals, working towards greater goals methodically, but tempering that and making it to where it can more so be manifested into reality. But overall, Pisces, you've just had Jupiter through your sign in 2022. You still have Neptune there. You have a great, wonderful year ahead for redirecting your life force energy, and for really allowing spirituality and faith to be stronger and to work methodically towards your greater goals. Anyway, I'm probably going to wrap it up there. What a beautiful year ahead for Pisces and for all of the signs. Thank you so much to everyone who was able to make it through this entire video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit the subscribe button below and turn on the bell notifications. In the description box are a lot of links for this channel if you are curious to learn more. Check out my mailing list. Check out my Patreon page. I am on other social media as well. And I'm so looking forward to this year ahead. I hope you enjoyed this very long video. And if you would like to check back to it later in the year, if you're feeling curious, check out your sun, moon, rising sign and enjoy it. Thank you all so much, everyone. It was an honor to do this for you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.